What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and of course, the funny stuff every Friday. I'm Andrea Renee, joined in studio by one Christine Steimer.
Hello.
And joining us via satellite is Brittany Brombacher.
Hello.
Okay, technically it's the internet, it's not satellite. Yeah. But I just wanted to say it one time. That's all.
It sounded good. You got it out of your system.
Through wires of some kind.
Thank you. Thank you. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be chatting about the crazy Nintendo sales numbers, PlayStation's brand new state of play, and of course, what's going on with that beef between Apple and Xbox. And then later on in the show, we're going to be chatting about Marvel's Avengers beta, Paper Mario, the Origami King, Grounded, and the colorful internet sensation that is Fall Guys. Thank you so much to this month's Patreon producers, Chewy's Godson, Alex Rigopulos, Faris Attieh, Justin Foshee, Mohammed Mohammed, Marcus Brown, Punkdefied, and Califorunicated. And welcome to our Patreon community at patreon.com/whatsgoodgames, to Medale TQ, Chelsea May, Calvin De Jesus, Age of the Exile, Spencer Dahl, Jeff Parsons, David Santos, Andrew Countryman, Sean Kavanaugh, Brian Ochoa, XVVX, or is that 15...
Whatever
what is that?
VX is.
I'm really bad
VX
at
is not
Roman
technically
numerals.
a real Roman numeral. And the mighty Ethan. Thank you so much for supporting everything we do here at What's Good Games. Brittany, I hear we have some new podcast reviewers.
We do. Huge shout out to TF Counts, Peace Walker, King Smitty 85, Steimer's Husbando.
What?
Bolt.
Yeah. Oh, well.
The suspense.
They left out the E, so it's technically, I guess, Steimer, still Steimer, Steimer's Husbando, Full Tilted, and Snivy Link, who says, "This is great for broken wrists." And at first I'm like, oh no, it's a FAP joke. But then the review goes on. I broke my wrist while falling off my bike, and I was in the middle of a Xenoblade playthrough too, so I'm out of luck on playing video games right now. But binging this podcast last month has been a delight. Really takes my mind off of being unable to play games right now, so thanks for that. I am always looking forward to every single episode. Heal up quickly, Snivy Link, and thank you for listening to us and for your review.
We do appreciate everybody who takes the time to leave us a 5-star review. It helps the show more than you know. So we're doing this new thing, you guys, where we try to get into the news right away.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Yep, let's just do it.
So let's get into the news. But before we do that, I want to let you know that this segment of news is brought to you by patreon.com/whatsgoodgames. We'll tell you more about that later. Our first story of the day, Brittany. Nintendo is crushing it.
So this comes from IGN. Animal Crossing New Horizons sales reached 22 million as Nintendo's net profits rise over 500% year on year via IGN. So Nintendo's first quarter results for its fiscal year ending March 2021 have revealed some impressive details, including that Animal Crossing New Horizons has sold over 22 million copies, that the Switch has sold over 61 million units, and that Nintendo's net profits year on year have grown by over 500%. Animal Crossing New Horizons, at 22.4 million units sold, has become the second best-selling Nintendo Switch game behind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's 26.74 million. It has surpassed both Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which have sold 19.99 million and 18.6 million units, respectively.
Suck
Animal
it, losers. Animal Crossing is coming to eat your lunch.
Was not anticipating that, but I'm here for it.
I am so here for it. Thank you, Cyber. Animal Crossing New Horizons was so popular from April to June 2020 that it was played on over 50% of all Nintendo Switch systems sold during that period on the first day of purchase. Furthermore, Animal Crossing New Horizons accounted for over 40% of overall sell-through for Nintendo titles in Japan, the US, Europe for that same time. Speaking of software, Nintendo also had 2 new million sellers released this quarter with Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, which our friend Phil was playing until he broke his wrist. Rip your wrist. And Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics selling 1.32 million units and 1.03 million units, respectively. Ring Fit Adventure, which had a product shortage issue from beginning in March, has sold over 4 million copies globally. This was reflected in July 2020's NPD report that saw Ring Fit Adventure jump from number 835 to number 7 on the best-selling list for the month as stock increased. Another interesting note is that digital sales accounted for 55.6% of total software sales on Nintendo's dedicated video game platforms. The success of the Switch's software was mirrored by the console itself, which has now sold 61.44 million units, putting it only slightly behind the NES's 61.91 million units sold. And this quarter, 3.05 million Nintendo Switch systems were sold, and 2.62 Nintendo Switch Lite systems were sold. This totals to 5.68 million Switch consoles sold in that time frame, which is a 166% increase year on year. Lastly, Nintendo's mobile and IP-related income reached 13.2 billion yen, or around 125 million US dollars, which is a 32.7% increase year over year. Lots of increasing going on here. All of these highlights tell the story of Nintendo's net profit reaching 106.4 billion yen. Billion yen, about 1 billion US. A 576.2% increase year on year from fiscal years 20 quarter one, 16.6 billion yen, aka 157 million USD. Holy shit. Okay, as for what the future holds for Nintendo, we don't know too much of its plans besides some undated games, including The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4, and the recently announced Pikmin 3 Deluxe, which will be released on October 30th, 2020.
Oh boy, that was a lot of information, Brittany.
A lot of numbers.
Anything past the 10th, I'm done. Let's just scrap the 100th decimal. Like, no one needs that shit.
No,
but anyway.
I agree, but we wanted to talk about these numbers because they're significant for a couple of reasons. First, congratulations to Nintendo on all of your success. I obviously am very much in the Animal Crossing camp, that I love this game and I love it so much I started a weekly stream of it, and it's no surprise to me that it's selling a lot of copies, but boy, I was not ready for them to take the number 2 spot of Switch games in total sales. Them surpassing Super Smash Bros. Is a quite impressive feat, especially when Pokemon is also in that top 5 list.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
I guess I would love to go back and listen to our discussions about Animal Crossing New Horizons back in the day and see how we hypothesized this would go down, because there's a lot of conversation of, like, we knew Animal Crossing was a console seller, or handheld seller rather, for the DS system of consoles, but it was more of how was it going to do on the Switch. And I think we all anticipated it would do very well, but I mean, I did not think it would do this well. I'll just admit that.
I don't think any of us. I think if you did go back and look, none of us would have predicted the success that it's currently had, and I don't think that you could, because world pandemic.
Yes,
there are definitely some factors involved here that boosted its numbers that nobody really could have anticipated. So it's had that going for it. Not to say that it's not a great game, but it's just the circumstance pool. It's just ripe. Those waters were nice and warm for him.
I just think that you could take a game like Animal Crossing that feels super niche and is missing a lot of key functionality that you expect in a game that has online built into it in the year 2020 and go, oh my goodness, how did this game sell over 20 million units? And obviously the pandemic was an effect, right? Not to say that I'm taking away from Nintendo's achievement here, but like clearly they're tied together, right? Like there's no disputing that whatsoever. The people are at home, and the easiest thing to do when you have multiple people in a house and you maybe only have one television, but you've got a Switch, is like you play in handheld mode. Like I've been playing in handheld mode obsessively outside. Like it's the only time I get to like go outside and get some sunshine and still play video games at the same time is when I have my Switch in my hand. And I think that a lot of other people clearly around the globe are in the same boat. And I think it's really impressive that Animal Crossing has been able to do this. I may have tweeted to Nintendo to be like, so if you've sold over 20 million units, that seems to me like you have some development budget that you could put towards maybe letting us craft more than one item at a time. Maybe we could decorate outside like we decorate inside our house, and maybe, for the love of God, can I get a shopping cart at Able Sisters? That's really just like, just a short list of things that I would like to request with that development money. Now you can't hide it, Nintendo. We know you've got it.
We know you have it.
They're like, we are squirreling this away for Animal Crossing 3.
Yes,
well, or whatever they title it, because it's not numbers. It's whatever
the colon
blah
cute
blah
phrases.
Yeah,
it's gonna be new something.
It's gonna be Tarantula Bee's Nest.
Oh no, no.
So I'm trying to see how many copies the last Animal Crossing sold, which was New Leaf. By March 2020, all versions combined had worldwide sales of 12.5 million copies, making it one of the best-selling 3DS games. Okay.
Also, next one will be New Dunes, and it's all desert
All desert all the time. You have to build a well.
It's
man.
interesting because I feel like that's just Nintendo in a nutshell. Is they release this game that does so incredibly well, but like Andrea said, it's just missing a lot of the functionality that I think would make it much better in so many ways. But I feel like that's kind of what they do is they put out these games. There's some faults with it, but we're like, but we love it and we can't get enough of it. Please give us more. And Nintendo's like, well, then why do we need to innovate and make it better if clearly it's doing fine the way it is? Pokemon, ladies and gentlemen. I will say it.
Oh yeah,
I will say it right here. Pokemon Sword and Shield did some things a little bit differently, but they could have done so much more.
Yeah.
But do they need to? Nay.
I mean, like, that's a very valid point. So I was tweeting with Blessing, Kind of Funny Games Daily host, Blessing, and we were tweeting at 1:00 in the morning, and it was a very spirited debate because he had posted these numbers, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was Googling furiously for them, and I was like, show me where the numbers are, and he linked me to the Nintendo finance report. And so just for you guys to know, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe still in the #1 position with 26.7 million units sold. Animal Crossing New Horizons in #2 with 22.4 million units sold. Super Smash Bros. In third with 19.99 million units, and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in fourth with 18.6 million, and then Pokemon Sword and Shield in the 5th position with 18.22 million. And I think that this is really indicative of people loving Nintendo's product. I think we talk about it on the show all the time about how one of the things that Nintendo does really well is polish. When you get a Nintendo first-party game, you know the game is just going to work. It's going to look good. It's going to be fun. It's going to be whimsical. And it's just not going to be broken. And I think that there's absolutely a testament to Nintendo's commitment to both their internal development teams and also the hardware that they are developing for. But Animal Crossing was the first game that I had bugs and crashes in. And I don't know if that's because of what they're trying to implement in multiplayer and it's just outside of their general scope of game development knowledge, or if they're, if there's some other reason involved. I hope that it's just because they're trying to do more with multiplayer than we've really traditionally seen Nintendo do before. And so it's maybe kind of like disrupting their workflow. But I'm excited for the future where Nintendo stretches their wings a little bit and stops hoarding this giant mountain of cash that they keep making and say, you know what, let's get into the future where our competitors are standing firmly, right? So this little debate that I had with Blessing, also incorporated this idea of the attach rate and how so many Nintendo Switch owners buy first-party Nintendo games. And I was like, LOL, there's nothing else to play. Obviously, that was a joke. There's plenty of other third-party games to play, but not nearly the selection of third-party compared to Xbox, PlayStation, and most certainly not to PC platforms, right? So that's not up for debate. So my point was, where can they innovate? Where can they actually do better and make their platform even bigger? Could Nintendo one day surpass what PlayStation is doing if they actually reinvested some of that money that they're just squatting on? And I think it's a really interesting prospect because of the style of games that they make, that if they really did make a robust online interface that rivaled something like an Xbox Live, could they become the new powerhouse like they once were in the world of console video games?
Ooh, that's a fun question, isn't it?
I mean, I think so. I would love to see Nintendo rise to the top and be like, fun, friendly games without gore for the win, like good, wholesome fun that everybody can enjoy.
Well, whole family,
that's
but
very
on the internet,
non-controversial. We could maybe all use a dose of that right now.
I mean, that's why Animal Crossing did so well. But I think just to touch on a couple of those points, like the attach rate to me has never been that surprising because I feel like that's fairly standard for a Nintendo platform in general. Because when you are buying a Nintendo console of any kind, you're usually buying it for the Nintendo game. So it has a high attach rate of first party games.
That was my point. Yeah.
Color me not surprised.
I'm not gonna. I just want to interject one thing because I have stats on the attach rate. So if you wouldn't mind,
go for it.
That next thought in your little pocket, Simon, because I don't want to cut you off.
I mean, that's
so
gone
Daniel
now.
Ahmad tweeted this out. He said, "Here is something you just don't see on other platforms. 43.5% of Nintendo Switch owners have purchased Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. After less than 5 months on the market, over 36% of Nintendo Switch owners have a copy of Animal Crossing New Horizons. The top 6 games on the Switch have an attach rate of almost 30%. And so Mario Kart 8, 43.5% of Switch owners own that. Animal Crossing, 36%. Smash Ultimate, 32%. Breath of the Wild, 30%. Sword and Shield, 29%. Odyssey, 29.4%. So just speaking on that, there you go. Its main driving factor of 82.5% total software revenue attributed to first-party game sales. So yeah, it kind of that goes to like what Andrea was talking about. But I will let you continue your point.
No, I mean, I think that it's important, though, that if you're going to bring up something like that, that we provide a little bit of context for why those numbers are the way they are, right?
Yes.
Because this is also a little bit of a, I don't want to say a fight, but like a spirited debate I got in with some other people on Twitter. It's like, of course, those attach rates are going to be, you know, historically high because, as I mentioned in my debates, is that you don't really have a lot of other AAA options on the Nintendo Switch. You know, like you have Fortnite, and
which you could play on literally any other device.
And like that's about it. I mean, you do get some standouts here and there. You know, Diablo 3 Eternal Collection, I think, is a big one that did really well on Nintendo Switch. But
I
again,
wonder how Witcher sold on it. I don't actually know.
I don't know. I don't think CDPR ever put the numbers for Witcher on Switch out. But I don't think it's without. I don't think anybody's going to debate
I don't think it's
that.
like, I don't
clearly, The Witcher 3 is best played on any other platform besides Nintendo Switch.
Correct.
I mean, if you were looking for performance and how the game is going to look and feel its best, like you could absolutely play it on Switch and it's probably fine. We tried it out. I mean, I tried it out and it played just fine. But if I'm going to choose to play The Witcher 3, I'm not going to play it on Switch for my primary experience. And I think that that is something that has plagued the Nintendo Switch since its inception. And I say plagued with the biggest air quotes because clearly it's not hurting the Nintendo Switch at all.
Correct.
Right? Because when you buy a Nintendo Switch, you don't buy it to play Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Apex Legends, right? You buy it to play Breath of the Wild,
Mario
Super
Kart.
Smash Brothers, Mario Kart, right? That's why you get a Switch. And I think that those numbers are important because both Xbox and PlayStation have these giant lines in their annual earnings that come from online sales in relationship to games as a live service and how many hundreds of millions of dollars games like FIFA pump into those online infrastructures because of their multiplayer interfaces that Nintendo is just not competing with. They're leaving all of that money on the table because they're not innovating their online platform. So yes, I absolutely am championing everything Nintendo is celebrating this week. We love Nintendo here at What's Good Games. That is without question. Obviously, like I mentioned, I have a fucking whole streaming show dedicated to Animal Crossing now. Yeah. But like, I think it's also important to remember that like the reason why those attach rates are so high is from a variety of factors. That's my point.
Yes. 100%.
Sorry, Summer, did you forget where you're going?
Oh yeah, let's try this station. It
thought
was
I
gone.
probably fucked it.
I mean, like, I think in general, Nintendo is an interesting factor in this industry always because they are just so adamant and it really not competing. They are not, and they've said this before, right? Like they're like, yeah, Xbox and Sony are there, but we're cool, like over here doing what we want to do. And like part of me is like, that's admirable. And part of me is frustrated because I want to at least have them try a little bit. And not to say that they need to compete with those two other platforms. Because again, I think they're just doing drastically different things. But to then go say, you know what? Okay, then why don't you guys reimagine what something like this looks like for you and your audience? Because I guarantee you cannot be happy with the duct tape and spit like architecture you've got going on right now.
Lordy.
Right? Like the people who work at Nintendo have a lot of pride in their work. They put out games that are very well polished, that are usually thought of as some of the best games of those years when they do come out. So I find it interesting then that they are so lackluster in this other element and have so far really never hit any sort of quality bar with it, and have also never really talked about whether or not they're okay with it, right? Like there's never been any
messaging from the leadership at Nintendo about wanting to innovate, particularly in the online space. I think what we really saw Nintendo take a risk at in diversifying their business is in mobile, and clearly that fell on its face, right? Like they tried it and they absolutely sold and had millions of people download some of their games, but they didn't quite hit the mobile gaming successes I think that they were hoping to achieve. And they are now looking at that going, how can we either improve what we were doing in our mobile business, or how can we maybe pivot and change that investment we were putting into mobile and put it into something else instead? And I just look at what they're doing with their Nintendo Online app and that subscription and go, you could be doing so much more. At a bare minimum, be matching what PlayStation and Xbox were doing in the 360 and PS3 era. You know, we're still behind there. And now we're, you know, more than a decade later about to enter the new generation of those consoles. And I don't think it's unreasonable for players in the year 2020 to ask for, you know, more investment in online play.
No, it's not unreasonable, but it just comes back to that thing is Nintendo's gonna Nintendo. And as we're seeing, even with how archaic things are, they're still doing incredibly well. And it's an interest. I'm still like pondering that question you posed. Is like, could they become the next PlayStation? And I'm trying to think like when was the last major IP, that new IP that Nintendo launched? And I think what we're seeing
Splatoon?
Does that even
what about
count?
wait, was it Hands, Arms? What was the
Arms?
Arms?
I feel like
Arms?
Splatoon was bigger than Arms.
Oh yeah, no, for sure, but I can't remember which one. Like I think
Arms was the last one. That's correct.
Yes.
Splatoon was first.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah. And so when you look at these, Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers, Zelda, Pokemon, more Mario, like they don't need to innovate, clearly. I mean, and that's just the reality of it. I think the talent is there, and I think we've all remembered those days of old of Nintendo Magic, where they would come out with that cool new thing on Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, hell, even on GameCube with like Luigi's Mansion, right? And it was that thing of cool, like what that magic. But now they've seen what works, they've seen what they can get away with, and we just keep tossing money their way because the games they make are great.
because we're
and they're-
nostalgic and they're
Yeah.
also still quality stuff. Like it's not like they're
that's
passing
it.
off garbage, right? Like,
Oh no, that's it. The
Yeah.
games they're making are amazing. I mean, all of these games. I mean, Mario Kart is like not my cup of tea. It's fun once in a while, but like that game's just gonna.
yeah,
sell
that's like a
billions
you
of
get
stuff.
drunk and play.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look
A
at
lot
the
of them are
online
evergreen,
infrastructure-
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the online infrastructure of Animal Crossing, not great. And I know the gameplay
You
itself
don't like
is
going to
solid.
Dodo Island.
And then you look at Smash, the same issue there with their online as well. Breath of the Wild, like a lot of really cool, innovative things I can't really knock. It's just not my cup of tea. But even Pokemon Sword and Shield, so it's that slow trend of I think eventually we're going to get to a place where they're going to continue to improve their original IP. But why would they go out of their way to take a risk on a brand new IP when they're making numbers like this?
Yeah,
and
I
that's
think-
just the reality of it. Which
I
sucks.
actually do wonder if it's a worrisome spot. Obviously, yes, they're doing very well financially, but actually, if you think about it, they are one of the few people in the industry that doesn't really have competition. All of their competition died out a long time ago, right? Like Sega, everybody else like was left in the dirt. Xbox and Sony are doing much different, bigger things, and Nintendo is really the last standing from that era. And so I wonder, like, if they don't feel like they have competition, it worries me a little
Yeah.
in the sense that usually competition breeds innovation.
Right.
Right.
So if you aren't feeling that pressure in some way, obviously, hopefully it's not crippling in any way, in any sense, then what are you doing? And the answer is exactly what you said, Brittany, which is like, you're giving us things we do like and you're doing them well. And there's nothing technically wrong with that. But how does this work long term? And the answer might be, well, honestly, it's fine because those people will have kids and they'll tell them of their kids about that and then they'll just buy it for that and it's fine. That's the same thing because those kids don't know any better. Like, but it's like maybe they'll get away with that cyclical life cycle. But I wonder about it and the longevity of all of it. And I think that's part when you're like, they're sitting on this hoard of cash. I'm like, I feel like Nintendo is just sitting there waiting for a rainy day because maybe they're fearful of it happening at some point.
After the Wii U disaster, selling 13 million units.
Oh God, I forgot the Wii U even existed.
Which is
Not
why
gonna
they're
lie.
bringing games like Pikmin over. Just take your whole library over and put it on the Switch. People will actually play it that way.
I'm
yeah,
glad you mentioned Pikmin, though. We kind of like glossed over that the Pikmin 3 Deluxe Edition was announced this week, and we don't really need to go into all the details. Essentially, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's Pikmin 3 shinier, newer,
co-op.
Better.
on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my thoughts on Nintendo.
Nintendo gonna Nintendo.
We really like
and that's
them.
just it.
Yeah. But
Oh yeah.
they might
I love
want to consider doing something new.
I would love to see them. I would love to see them have that innovation and magic that we saw from them in the 90s and what really made them the powerhouse that they are today and say, you know what? We've been resting on our laurels a little bit, doing more of the same, but doing it very well. But, you know, if we want to really take the next step into the next generation of where, interconnectivity in digital media is going, like we have to do more.
I mean, I love their innovation. At least this generation obviously came just with the platform itself, right? The Switch itself is the most innovative thing Nintendo has done as of late, and that's
what, the
great.
Nintendo Labo wasn't doing it for anybody? No.
I mean, I think that here's the thing. I actually really do appreciate that Nintendo's like, fuck it, we're gonna do this thing.
Take
like
cardboard.
I don't.
I literally had to Google Nintendo Cardboard to remember what Labo
I forgot
was
that was what
called.
it was called.
No, Cyber, I think that's a good point to bring up because I can see the comments now. Like, I feel like, Nintendo has been incredibly innovative with their hardware. We're just talking software.
Yeah, I think software and then
I feel like you guys are
online
being generous.
infrastructure, those two key elements. And maybe they don't need to get super crazy with some of their more traditional IP. But I mean, I don't know. What else can Mario do at this point? He's done almost every job in the universe. Think of something else.
Ooh.
What
Mario.
No more plumbing. Leave Peach alone. She clearly
Mario.
doesn't want you.
Doesn't want her
Mario
pipes to be
dating
cleaned.
sim. Find Mario a new lover because Peach surely is not interested.
That poor guy. I think he's so badly friend zoned. I don't even think he even knows it.
He doesn't. Did you
He
see the
doesn't.
end of Odyssey? Clearly, he's like, he's daft. He
He's
just
in
doesn't
denial.
get it. He just does not
Got
get
a
it.
kiss Super Mario RPG, but that was on Super Nintendo. So clearly they've had some issues.
It's been a
But no,
while.
It's
has
the same
been.
thing, and I think that's why I honestly haven't played a Mario game in a long time that I've loved, and that's really clicked with me. I put down Origami King. I couldn't really get into Odyssey, and I don't remember the last time I finished a Mario game.
Galaxy?
I really don't.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even finish Galaxy.
Oh
I hated the motion.
no!
I
Galaxy
hated
and
the
Galaxy
motion
2 were so
controls.
good. Oh,
Those motion
bummer.
controls can go die in a fire. But no, it's like the thing of like, I've played this before. Wait, I lied. The last Mario game I finished was Super Mario 3D World because I really liked that because I thought that was very simple and kind of goes back to like,
The
Old school.
days of old.
Yeah.
games of old and it was co-op and it was fun. But I'm kind of
So in that
sick of
sense, you're
the-
actually saying you don't want them to innovate even more. You're like, wait, no, go back to what you really did originally.
Here's the thing: just make Super Mario World, put some shiny graphics on it, and for the love of God, make another like true blue Mario RPG game. Origami King is not it, but I digress. That's a conversation.
Oh, well, no, we're going to be talking more about that in just a little bit. But for now, we're going to move on to our next story. PlayStation had another state of play this week, and if you missed it, Brittany and I did a live react at twitch.tv/whatsgoodgames. If you'd like to watch the VOD of that, it is up for you to enjoy. And we've got a little bit of a recap, so I don't want to delve too much into every single thing that was announced. Because there is quite a few games that were released. But
If you want to, you could probably just go to the PlayStation blog and look at literally everything they announced.
That's
Yeah.
Steimer, that is a great point. But some of the highlights, we got to see a little bit of gameplay from Braid Anniversary Edition, which is coming early next year in 2021. I think Braid is
There's more Braid coming.
It's the same Braid but fancier, more pixels.
But it already looked nice. It's a painterly art style.
But Steimer, now there are 9 pixels where every 1 pixel was before.
Oh my!
so it just looks really crisp.
I guess.
All right.
Well, we're also talking they also talked about Braid 2, to be clear. So it's not
Ooh.
just Braid Anniversary, but they talked about Braid 2.
I really liked Braid.
And so they showed some gameplay and talked about adding in more multiplayer elements. And it was really nice. I think Braid was one of those games that you either played and you loved or you completely missed it.
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
it's a roguelike Metroidvania that's long touted as one of the standout roguelites that really kind of kicked off this resurgence of roguelike and roguelite games that we're now seeing, particularly in the indie community. We also saw quite a bit of gameplay from the Pathless, which is from Giant Squid. And it's interesting because when we were streaming, Brittany and I were like, this kind of reminds us a little bit of the flow of Journey. And then I learned that Matt Nava, who was the art director at that game company, the studio behind Journey, is now the creative director at Giant Squid. So I was like, oh, it all makes sense.
It all makes
Mhm.
sense. No, this game looks really chill and peaceful. So the idea is that you're an archer, and there are these talismans that are kind of floating around this open world, and it's all about shooting them with your bow. And you have a pet owl, Steimer. Thought you'd like to know that.
What is the pet owl's name?
No, owl, eagle.
Oh.
It is an eagle, yes.
It is an eagle. And it's more about timing rather than accuracy. So what you do is you shoot these talismans. It fills up your dash meter, and you kind of smoothly like glide through this world, shooting them as you go to keep that dash going. And you can use your pet eagle to platform, and you got to pet the eagle in case it gets dirty and blah blah blah. It just looks kind of chill and relaxing. It doesn't look like my cup of tea necessarily, but it sounds like it's mostly you just exploring, shining light by climbing like these big, I don't know, like towers. And when you do that, you can take down these big bad enemies that are described as giant cursed spirits that will try to separate you from your eagle. Can't have that, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, is
So
it
you
an
have to
eagle
set-
or an owl?
It's an eagle.
Okay.
It's an eagle. I was wrong. It's an eagle. And you have to return light to the land before you can take them on. And it sounds like it's just kind of exploration. There's no map, but there is something called spirit vision. And it allows you to see landmarks in the distance. So you know where you're going, but you can't really like.
And I was
look at
very
the map.
upset. I was like, why? Why can't we just always have a map? Just give me a map. Don't make me work it out.
Yeah, so on youtube.com/what'sgoodgames, ladies and gentlemen, we're playing some B-roll. And right now we're just seeing the archer kind of flow through the map. They're gliding, they're shooting the talismans, the eagle's flying along, they're having a good old time. It's a pretty landscape, and again, it looks more like a tranquil game than anything. Maybe. Unless like you get killed by those cursed dark beings.
I mean, I'm sure you can die in it.
Probably.
sounds
You
right.
can die in a lot of games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the other big games that I did not write down, actually the game that they opened the show with, sorry, audio coming through there, is Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody is interested in Crash Bandicoot. No? Anybody?
I mean,
Anybody?
I was never that great at it, so it's not something that blows my skirt up, but I know that people get very excited about Banjo. Or not Banjo. Oh, wow. See, that's... that was a slip of the tongue.
Oh, snap.
Slip of the tongue. I
Strand
used
of
to
the
work
mind, baby girl.
on a banjo back in the day, so that's where my brain goes.
I was watching this though, and I thought for some reason it looks like it's gonna scratch an itch. It just looks like fun platforming. Granted, it does look a little complicated in certain areas. It does look like it could be a little rage-inducing.
I mean, that's Crash Bandicoot, though, right?
I haven't played honestly any Crash besides the old PlayStation 1 demo discs you get back in the day, where you just get that one level. That was like my experience with Crash. Because generally just platforms like this, unless it was Mario. Not usually my thing, but I was watching this and I said, that looks kind of fun.
Yeah.
I might do that. And plus you get to play as Coco, and I remember Coco.
Yeah, I did think it was interesting that they just said that they were going to give Coco a bigger role in the story this time around. They're like, we wanted to make sure that she kind of got her time in the sun. And I was like, well, that's great. But like, this style of platformer is just something that I've never really been drawn to. And Crash as an IP is also something that I'm just like, because I was never an original PlayStation player. Like, I had a PS2, but the games I played on my PS2 were like Silent Hill, GTA Vice City, and then Frequency and Amplitude. Those were like the big ones. I mean, I have a couple other games too, but like I was pretty much just playing Frequency and Amplitude the whole time when I wasn't like tooling around in Vice City. So like for me, Crash was just never a thing I played.
Yeah.
Fair. So basically, we don't have a lot of insight for Crash.
No, we don't. Sorry, everybody. Don't be upset that we don't have insight about Crash. Let's see here. Brittany, what else from this list? Oh, Genshin Impact was a game that came up that we saw. And when we first saw this, I think what the thing you said was, here, I'm trying to play this B-roll.
I was like,
I
this
respect
looks
your
like
mad
my-
hustle right now.
This
Well,
looks
I
like my
realized-
jam.
Yeah, I'm realizing I didn't put, oops, I hit the wrong button. I didn't put all of these videos on mute. And I was like, crap, this is
Crap
wrong.
in a bucket. Well, yeah. So when this was being shown, I was like, this looks like my cup of tea. It is being described on Twitter as Breath of the Waifu, because it has that same color palette and landscape as Breath of the Wild does. In fact, Breath of the Wild is one of the inspirations for this game. Apparently, Grand Theft Auto is as well, which kind of, when you see this game, looks all peaceful and anime-like, and then you think, where's the Grand Theft Auto? But I don't know. So this is an upcoming open-world action role-playing game developed by MiHoYo. I hope I said that right. And it was announced at China Joy 2019 that it's going to be published for PlayStation 4. And then this year in January, it's also coming to Nintendo Switch. So this is from the Wikipedia page. The game features an open world map, which the player explores by walking, climbing, swimming, and gliding as necessary. Players can control up to 4 of their characters at any time, and by completing quests to advance the story, you can unlock a total of 30 playable characters. It's also a multiplayer video game, and it was originally announced for PC and iOS, actually, which is interesting. But if you look at it, it's gorgeous. I mean, hello. I would like you.
I like all of these lady characters that we're seeing on screen.
Give me a sword and slash them up.
There's clearly an influence from Breath of the Wild, as we mentioned. you even saw one of these characters like climbing up the side of the cliff there. Very Breath of the Wild. And so I'm curious to see kind of how that all comes together with, you know, some of the more traditional JRPG mechanics and tropes that we see, because Breath of the Wild really kind of broke the mold in a lot of ways for open world role-playing games, specifically JRPGs. And so I would really like to see how they're going to kind of blend some of this, you know, obviously anime roots and, you know, kind of taking some more open world games like GTA and saying, how do we make it that a thing that happens? So
I'm into it.
Yeah. We also saw more from Bugsnax.
I think before we talk about
Bugsnax.
Bugsnax, I want to mention quickly Aeon Must Die, which I don't think looked particularly interesting to any of us. But after the trailer, which was right after this last game we just talked about, Genshin Impact, there was a whole bunch of hubbub on Twitter about how all Aeon Must Die devs quit the studio this week due to crunch and lack of payments, and the trailer was outsourced to artists without contracts. So if you were to look this up right now, it's like it looks real ugly and looks real nasty. And the devs were making statements beforehand saying that one of the planned announcements is Aeon Must Die, a game created by people who in June of 2020 were forced to leave their former studio, Limestone Games, along with its founder and creative director. The reasons were unbearable work conditions with endless crunch, harassment, abuse, corruption, and manipulation. When the team acquired an attorney to figure out the truth behind all the conflicting information and pressure, it was also discovered that the company and the entire IP was covertly taken from the founder. Multiple attempts at establishing dialogue and remedying the situation internally were shut down by the management and majority shareholders. And there is a Dropbox folder where all of like the evidence for this stuff is listed, and you can find it if you go on Twitter right now. But I just thought that was really interesting because a lot of folks thought it looked like a good game, but it sounds like everyone just quit this week. But apparently that trailer was locked and loaded in the state of play, and it got shown regardless.
So what's interesting about this story is that it really broke right as the state of play ended. And as of the time of us shooting the podcast, we do not have any details on specifics on if any of these allegations are true. We don't have any details or statements from people, you know, that are public. They are only tied to this one Dropbox account. And I mean, I think that, you know, there are going to be people who are more proficient at investigative journalism than we are here at What's Good Games that are going to look into this. But I am personally going to refrain from making any comments about this because I don't know enough about any of the details outside of that single tweet that we saw. So I know they tagged Jason Schreier, writer for Bloomberg and formerly of Kotaku, who is known for his investigative work in the industry. If he is interested, I'm sure he will dig into this and we'll have a full report at some point in the future.
I'm sure
but like,
we will.
Yo, regardless, like that's a bad look. It's a bad look.
Yep, bad look.
And traditionally, from what I've heard from developers who have worked with Sony, that's not the treatment that they've gotten. And I don't think this is a Sony thing. I think this is a publisher thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it too. As well. Yeah, that's what I'm getting from it too as well. Anywho.
Yeah. But like, I'm glad you mentioned it, because if we didn't, people definitely in the comments would be like, excuse me, push his glasses up. You didn't mention anything. Yeah, we saw the tweets, but there's just not enough information at the time of us recording the podcast for us to fully comment. So if something of note happens and develops, we will, of course, keep you informed.
Bugsnax.
But like, instead, what if we talk about Bugsnax? Talk about Bugsnax.
I like the snacks
that are
nuts.
bugs.
Yes. So we got a little bit of a longer look at what's happening with Bugsnax, and what I think is really interesting about this game is that it's just kind of like whimsical and fun, and clearly, you know, they're just having a good time with it, and it's gonna be dumb, but I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too. I don't know how much about the story we knew before this, but what you can kind of piece together from this trailer is that you are a journalist and you work for, it looks like, a newspaper company, and your boss is C. Clumbernuts, and they start off with saying, you're not really chasing this Bugsnax story, are you? Because Elizabeth Megafig is a 2-bit con artist, and I think that's the person we see with like the onion ring arm. Yeah, and it sounds like, yeah, you're just going to this island of Snacksburg, or this town of Snacksburg, to look for Bugsnax and to validate the story. And if so, you supposedly are going to write a report about it, which I think is cute. But this game kind of still disturbs me on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
I mean, I think that's the point.
I think that's the point. Yeah, there's a
like
strawberry
a really
that you catch.
Fucked up version of Pokemon Snap.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of putting it. It's a fucked up version of Pokemon Snap. That is bugsnax. There's a hamburger with curly fries as feet, and you lure it into a
Ooh.
pen with ketchup.
Yep.
Yeah.
What about
yeah.
like a milkshake on the side? We got that. We got the burgers. We got
Oh,
the
yeah,
fries.
that-
we got
Oh,
The
I
milkshake's
know
like
what you're
the last
doing there.
resort. Yeah, that's like the last resort. You throw that at the last minute.
Mm.
And then there's a snake carrot thing called Roodle. And the person's like, yo, find me my favorite food and then feed it to me. And then it cuts to Roodle. So I think poor little Roodle is going to be eaten.
Yeah,
But-
he's probably gonna get it.
Yeah, probably.
Never
But
gonna
bugsnax.
get it. Okay, wait, no. We cannot sing
No,
any
not
more than
this
that. No,
time.
content ID.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We're so good.
Content ID new. They also showed quite a few other things, but I want to try to like speed through this because there was a lot. So some of the games that we kind of glossed over that we haven't talked about, Hitman 3, we got to look at the PSVR version of Hitman. We already talked about the Pathless. There's also Anno Mewtwo. I always say the name of that word wrong. Hold on. Let me look it up. Hold on.
Anno.
How do you say that? Mutationum? Mutationum.
Mutationum? Yeah, I guess.
That's
Not a
this
real word, so-
cyberpunk indie game that's coming, and then we got another look at Star Wars Vader Immortal, which is happening on August 25th, 2020. Clearly, this game has been talked about for quite a while now, but now we have a release date, and if you want to slash with lightsabers, you can do it at the end of the month. We did get a look at the upcoming expansion for Control. So this is the second expansion from the studio Remedy and 505. So, I have the audio
Whatever you
on.
do.
Of course I do.
She's pulling up the B-roll because
Yes.
she's a professional.
You know, I'm just trying to make it all work, and I'm just one person, okay?
No,
so-
you're doing great, sweetie.
Oh, thanks, honey. So here's just a quick look at it. Clearly, people wanted more Control. Control was, game of the year for some people last year, and it is making more content. And so at the end, of course, we get the stinger that we all knew was coming about the one and only Alan Wake.
Yep, you need to learn about the
Ooh.
mysterious
Ow.
disappearance of Alan Wake. And that's all we know for now.
It's true.
I still need to. I haven't finished Control yet. I wish I could get all excited about this, but it means nothing to me at this point in my life.
But
that's
did
weird. Wait,
what?
what?
Wait.
Wait, the Control expansion is about Alan Wake? I'm
You learn
confused.
more. Okay, so the thing says, blah, blah, blah. Jesse's heading even deeper into the oldest house to learn more about those absolutely insane altered world events plaguing the Bureau. And yes, before you ask, you will learn more about the mysterious disappearance of Alan Wake. Now, we
That's
know
so
that
bizarre to me that
it
they
takes
announced
place-
this on a state of play. Like, Alan Wake is an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah.
Or at least was once upon a time. I'm sorry, okay, apparently I'm the only one that thinks that this is weird, so let's
No,
roll on.
It was just so long ago that I think I don't know. I guess I just don't look at it as like a thing anymore.
I'm still
Fair.
surprised. Just like, oh, okay. Alan's back, but he's back for everybody, which is fine.
that was on the 360, right?
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
But a new game that we saw that I thought looked exciting that I was pretty interested in, even though I feel like it didn't really tell us what this game was, and we couldn't really decide if this was going to be, if this was just CG or if this was actually what gameplay was going to look like, is called Hood. Outlaws and Legends from Sumo and from, was this also 505?
Focus Home Interactive.
Focus Home.
So
Okay.
I looked on the PlayStation blog, and this is a 4v4 multiplayer heist game where teams outwit AI guards to steal the treasure. You will assemble a team of outlaws as you attempt to steal treasures from an oppressive government known as the State, and a dark and gritty reimagining of the Robin Hood legend. This is a PvPvE game that pits two 4-player teams against each other as they attempt the same daring heist in environments populated with enemy AI guards. Using the unique and varied playstyles of each outlaw will be the key to your success. Some are specialized in ranged combat, while others are far more deadly up close in melee brawl. It's entirely up to you how to configure and combine your skills.
Okay, this actually looks pretty fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
look
think
at
it
all
looks
that.
cool. I'm into it, and I love Robin Hood. I love the whole era of Robin Hood, and I'm interested how they're going to implement PvPvE.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think what it sounds like, what I got from it was you're gonna have two teams who are going after the
Fighting
same
the same treasure.
Buy the same treasure, and they did say they're not talking about the specifics of how that's going to work yet, but there are going to be a lot of elements that you can use to either obviously help your team or hinder the opposing team. So it sounds like it's going to be
it's Rainbow
players.
Six Robin Hood.
There you go. Thank you, Simon. I couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah. Well,
but not.
But not.
I mean, I know it's not
Yes.
really, but I'm just saying if you need to wrap your head around something a little bit,
That's fair. That's fair. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
So that was a game that I thought was really interesting and clearly a game that was new that we hadn't really seen.
Yep.
We did get a release date for Auto Chess. Woo! It's coming on
I'd be more interested in
October
Auto
31st
Chess.
for PS4. And then we did get another look, and I think I may have forgot to pull this one up for you, Brittany, so we'll skip it and come back. We got a look at another game that I had never seen before that I thought looked cool called The Pedestrian.
Yeah.
Is it spooky? Because it sounds spooky.
It was not. It's actually like this.
Oh, that's not spooky at all.
No, it's a neat little indie game that's like a side-scrolling puzzle game.
Oh, this looks really cool.
Yeah, and so essentially, like what you see here on if you guys are watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames is that you connect these pieces to try to make a path for your little stick figure character
This
to get
reminds me
through.
of something from a really long time ago, and I cannot remember what it was.
Mm.
But yeah,
You're
just
controlling like the
puzzle
little
platformer.
avatar that you see on a bathroom door.
Yeah,
Like the little dude or
the
the
universal
person's address.
the universal icon for a human being,
yes.
Yep.
stick person.
Stick person with a dress, although I say it's a cape. But what do I know?
Do they have a dress? They don't have anything.
One of them had a dress,
Oh, I didn't see.
like the skirt. But we don't really know much about this game, except that it looks cool, and apparently, it's been out on Steam. So now that I've Googled it, I know more. Boom. There it is.
The power of Google.
It has an overwhelmingly positive review on Steam.
I feel like this is something I would want on my Switch for sure. A nice
Oh.
little puzzle platformer. It's like
Yeah, same. See? This was great
Perfecto.
on Switch. Indies, everybody. Indies. Brett, I gotta pull up the game that you asked me to pull up. I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay.
Don't be mad.
I'll never be mad. So, Steimer, I'm going to read you a description of a game, and you let me know what it sounds like to you, okay?
okay.
Okay. Every kid, this comes from its official Steam page, every kid dreams about becoming a Temtem tamer, exploring the 6 islands, discovering new species, and making good friends along the way. Now it's your turn to embark on an epic adventure and make those dreams come true. Catch new Temtem and Amnesia's
Pokemon.
floating islands, battle other tamers on the sandy beaches of Denise, or trade with your friends in Tukma's ash-covered
It's
fields.
fucking
Defeat
Pokemon. Oh my god, that
defeat-
looks
Defeat the ever-annoying clan Belsoto and end its plot to rule over the land. Beat all
What?
8 dojo leaders and become the ultimate Temtem tamer. It's a massively multiplayer creature collection adventure. Seek adventure alongside your Temtem squad. Catch every Temtem, battle other tamers, customize your house, join a friend's adventure, or explore the dynamic online world.
how is this legal?
I don't know.
What?
So this is currently on Steam in early access. You can buy it for $37.49. It has over 20,000 reviews, and it's very positive.
That was a
And
fire monkey that looked almost exactly
Even
like
the
a
graphics
Pokemon.
look like Pokemon, I have to say.
Yeah,
Kinda
it's
looks
a
like
little bit
Pokemon,
blockier,
More-
but yeah.
more like my time at Porsche is how I would explain that. But yeah, so this has been out on Steam for some time, and I've had my eye on it, and I've been really interested in it. But it is in early access, so I like to let them work out the bugs. But oh yeah, this is coming to PS5, and I am so here for it. So reading a little bit more about it, yeah, you can journey across 6 vivid islands and embark on the adventure of becoming a tamer.
But where's
There's
the
the
Safari
online-
Zone?
I know, right? Where can get my Kangas? My
Yeah.
Kangaskhan.
Genghis
Yeah,
Khan, Genghis Khan.
And the co-op looks really fun. You can buy your own house and decorate it your own way. Buy new furniture, color your walls.
Wait, so it's like Animal Crossing and Pokemon.
That's like, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm getting, man.
Maybe that's
New
why they're not
events,
getting sued.
new missions. Yeah, and you can
Maybe.
customize your avatar. I don't know. I'm here for this game. I'm really excited. I will wait till it hits PS5. I know sometimes there's discrepancy, obviously, between what the game is on Steam and the console. Sometimes the Steam version gets updates first, but I don't fucking care. I want to become a Temtem tamer.
Tamer? A
I had to-
Temtemian.
I had to look up because there was another big Pokemon knockoff that I just couldn't think of the name of it, and it's Yokai Watch. I was like, there was
Oh, yeah.
another big game that I was like, the marketing also looked just so much like Pokemon. It's Yokai Watch, but yeah, no, Temtem is just clearly just another knockoff of Pokemon.
I just like their press release sounds exactly like it, which is hilarious to me. The art, I feel like the art, and I mean, definitely parts of the game look like it when it was showing your character and how you could dress them. I mean, that felt very much like what you can do now in Pokemon, but I also think that's not the world's most unique aspect of a video game. But I also say, seeing those creature designs, I was kind of like, this is kind of the Uggo version of Pokemon.
Yeah, they're not super exciting. They're no trash bags or ice cream Pokemon. Like, let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
No sandcastle. Possess sandcastle Pokemon.
I mean, missing my ice cream cone Pokemon.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm never gonna get my Pokemon MMO. Let's be real. As we just talked about, Nintendo doesn't need to create one more. Rather, Game Freak doesn't need to. And before we get the hate, Nintendo, Game Freak, they work very close together. So don't say Game Freak. No, friends. Don't at me.
There's certainly a lot of people who are quick to rush into the mentions about Nintendo's involvement or lack thereof, in the Pokemon franchise. Anywho, I want to wrap up this segment on the PlayStation State of Play with talking about what they ended with, which I thought looked very interesting, but apparently the internet is divided on, and that is Godfall. Yeah, just one more time. Let me just
Once more
mute
with
that.
feeling.
Let me just mute that. So Godfall is a game that was announced at the Game Awards last year. We've seen it a couple of times so far this year, and up until this recent gameplay that was shown in the State of Play, I was still a little bit confused about what the heck Godfall was. But now I feel like I have a much clearer idea, at least about what the combat is going to look like. So we got this deep dive into the combat overview from the team that is making it. Of course, Gearbox is, I believe, publishing the game. And so it's called a looter slasher. And they said it has robust loot progression. And Brittany and I decided to dub it a slooter.
Yeah, it was between Lusher and Sluter. But I like Sluter because it sounds like a dirty name.
Yeah.
It does. But I feel
it has online co-op for up to 3 people. It's in a high fantasy universe with knights, magic, elemental realms. So there's an earth, water, air, and fire realm. All loot and gear are unlocked through gameplay. So everything in the game is there at launch. There will be no microtransactions. They were very clear about that everything that you can see, you earn by unlocking it. Now, listen, oh no. Oh no. Steimer. Okay, hold on. Steimer has just passed me her phone with the Urban Dictionary definition of slooter.
Oh,
Brittany, what do you think slooter means?
I'm going to say it has something to do with bodily fluids inside of a vagina.
I mean, sort of.
A very loose interpretation of it.
Okay.
So, according to the Urban Dictionary, a slooter is the most extreme form of a slut. Slooters can be found in clubs around the world or even in your local beaches. Slooters will do anything and everything to get into your pants. So beware of slooters used in a sentence. Man, that girl was such a slooter at the club.
Oh, no. I mean, you know what? Let's take the power back from the sex shaming of slooter. And now a slooter is now known as a looter shooter, looter slasher.
This was added in 2004, so it's been a while.
Oh my gosh, 2004?
Yes.
Holy man.
Why some people in the chat were saying, oh no, when we were saying slooter. I thought it was just because of the name, but maybe, there's some hip and
Maybe
cooler
they all
kids
knew.
out there.
They were like, no.
We're taking slooter back, everybody. We're taking it back. All right, back to the game. So we're talking about Godfall. It's coming this holiday, 2020, and they showed us a nice deep dive into the weapon classes. So there'll be 5 weapon classes: longsword, the dual blades, the pole arm, the two-handed warhammer, and the two-handed greatsword. Very typical hack and slash classes. They say that there's going to be a parry system, that you're always going to have your shield with you. Combat is intended to be fluid, dynamic, and embracing offense over defense. And so essentially it's like they want you to get in there and have fun and not, take your time. So I feel like that's going to be a very key differentiator between this type of slasher versus like a Demon Souls, right? Or a Sekiro. Because whenever you see a game with blades, I feel like people are so quick to compare it to a Souls game, when in reality there's so many more other types of games in the combat genre that use blades that are probably a much better comparison. So when I saw this, the first thing I told Brittany was like, oh, kind of reminds me a little bit of the vibe of Monster Hunter. but without the monster hunting aspect of it. But like the classes, the loot progression, the style of combat just felt kind of rang Monster Hunter to me. And I think the high fantasy element of it also leans into that a little bit.
As somebody whose Xbox would not allow her to play Monster Hunter.
Oh no.
When I first walked in and I caught this tail end, at first was like, oh, this looks like Destiny, just visually.
Yeah.
Obviously, not the combat. And I was like, oh, that's cool. It's pretty. And then I saw them start to dive into the weapons. And when they were going through and being like, here's what this sword does, or here's how you can battle this way, I was like, oh, for whatever reason, I was like, this reminds me of an MMO. And like, that's what I was kind of really attracted to is, ooh, I can sit there and play with the weapon type. Obviously, MMOs are not the only genre of game to do this, but that was what I felt as a gamer, because that was what I could relate to. I was like, ooh, it's like MMO style, the way they're breaking down what each of these weapon styles do and like how you can really mess around with them and play with them, and how it'll really make a difference when you're playing. So that was what I thought looked super neat. I think this combat looks great. Like, I just think it looks fun. And as you mentioned, it's much more fast paced than something where you need to be much more precise or you're going to get knocked out and all your stuff will go away, which again is some people's cup of tea, is not mine. So yeah. See, now it goes into the weapon classes. And talk dirty to me.
I think
it looks so good.
Yeah, what I was really confused about when I was looking at some of the reactions online was that there was a lot of people dragging this game for its visual style, saying that it looked like a PS2 or a PS3 game.
What the fuck is wrong with people? Lord, have mercy on my soul. If I hear one more person out there saying, this looks like a last generation game, it's like, shut up. God,
the only recent next gen game that looked like a last gen game to me is honestly Halo. And I love Halo. But that was the only one where I saw it and I was like, this doesn't look next gen.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing people can freaking talk about is how, whatever, it's fine. I get it's an important factor,
but
it's not the only thing.
Sometimes when you hit the enemies, they dissolve into ash. And I'm like, this is just particle effects wise, not a thing that could happen on the PS2.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I feel like gamers have become so spoiled. I mean, and myself included, I think our bar is set so unbelievably high for what we're looking for that when we see a game like this that looks great, we go, it's not good enough. And then they went out of their way at the top of this demo to say, this is a work in progress. The game is not finished. Please don't judge us on the final product based off this demo. And I think that it's unreasonable that developers have to bend over backwards to communicate that message. It should be clear that this is not the final product. Right. And like, I think that the real problem is that we've had some bad actors in the past that have marketed things too early, sometimes years in advance. And then the final product is quite different than what it was marketed as. And they were pushing pre-orders on that piece of marketing. Yeah. And that's really where the trouble comes in. Right.
These games are paying for the sins of their fathers.
Yeah, literally, yes. Or potentially for a publisher that's completely unrelated to them.
Yes, fathers very loosely, just older
people. I want to
people.
bring this up because it fits into this conversation. Patreon.com/what'sgoodgames. One of the perks is that every Wednesday I ask for questions and you can submit them if you're a patron. So Luke Laura says, I think PlayStation is doing a better job of late managing expectations of their shows, perhaps learning from the others. That doesn't always mean people get what they want, but I'd argue all three first party are getting better with communication during COVID. What's your take? I think regarding these state of plays and these Xbox 2020s or whatever you're going to call them, like you both were just saying, you can bend over backwards, you can set all of the right expectations, but people are still not going to be happy. You know, you can say all the right things. And I think in this case, Sony did set the expectations properly. I think there are people like me who like to get really hyped because it's fun, and it's always fun to kind of feel like, you know, Christmas is just around the corner, it's just tomorrow. But you have to be self-aware when that happens and be like, okay, like real talk yourself. I'm really hoping for Resident Evil Village stuff. Is it fun to talk about it? Did I get it? I did not. Am I going to go on Twitter and blast everyone and say how shitty the presentation was? No. So I think it's just that thing of no matter what expectations you set, you're still going to get people who don't see the tweet. You're going to get people who don't pay attention, and then they're going to get mad anyway. And it just sucks because I thought the game looked great, but apparently it's all about the graphics.
The only thing I don't like about this game is the name.
Godfall?
Yeah, I don't know why. There's just something about it that feels generic as fuck to me. And so that's the only part where I'm like, I feel like you could make that a little bit maybe snazzier, more interesting. But the game itself looked cool, and I really appreciated a lot. But even that last one they were showing dual blades and the outfit of that
Longsword.
character, I was like, yes,
Yeah, the
This-
combat looks really
this
good.
appeals
This
to
looks
me.
right up my alley, and especially since it features co-op and it looks super medieval high fantasy. I just want to know more like what this game is. Like, what do you do? And it would be so
You
cool
kill
once they
things and you level up and you get better gear and you progressively just look
Like
fucking
every other
cool.
game. But is it a dungeon crawler? Is it like, what do you do? Thanks, Simon. Thanks for that explanation.
I mean,
Like
Especially-
every other game.
I mean,
Can
it
you-
is. It's every
Can
other
you
game.
imagine, like, if Steimer's a mage, right, and I'm a melee? Can you imagine, like, her casting her like bright fireballs of death and destruction, and then I'm like whacking a bitch, and then Andrea's off with her arrows shooting shit? Like, I'm so
would be-
excited to see the other classes.
I actually would think I think it would be good of them to talk about like combos and if there's that. Like, so when you were talking about that reminded me of Guild Wars and the system that they have where if I am a mage or whatever, I can lay down a fire field. Other classes have different abilities that they can put into the fire field to give different boosts. Boosts.
I mean, you could
Boosts
make that a
and
weaponized
buffs
thing.
is what I was going for, and I combined them into one word. Anyways, so like stuff like that would be really cool because it would just add another element to the level of gameplay that a lot of regular hack and slash games don't necessarily have. They are literally just walk into a room, kill everything there. Cool, did it. Pick up the loot, walk into another room, kill everything there, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
Final question from Delilah Lugo. Judging from the Godfall gameplay, you each have to pick a sword class, and they can't be the same. Who gets what?
Dual
I would-
swords.
Okay, you want that. I would want the two-handed greatsword.
I guess I'm stuck with whatever's left. Thanks,
long
guys.
sword.
The long sword polearm or the two-handed warhammer. I feel like you'd be good with the polearm.
No,
Like, all
I'd probably go
nibble, like-
longsword because I would also be dual blade. But yeah, I would do regular.
I
ass.
could do pole
regular
arm if
ass
you
sword.
wanted to go dual blades.
Well, I mean, we can try both out.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
swap around.
Yeah.
Something
Steinman
interesting
and I
too.
usually pick the same class.
Yeah, that's
in
always
games.
like, yeah. We're always like, ooh, that looks like fun. And we're like, oh,
Yep.
shit.
Y'all don't
Now we have a
stump
bunch
on
of
that
glass
basic-
cannons.
on
No,
basic
we
greatsword.
leave it for you because you have been very vocal that this is the style of character you like to play.
Oh, my blood was pumping watching that shit. How they were describing it, how you had to get right up all up in it, right all up in the enemies, and
You love
oh,
a good
yeah.
face tank, don't you?
I could see
Oh.
the drool a little bit when he brought out the boss brought out that giant hammer.
Oh, I was grunting. It was so good, so pretty. But I noticed too that you can bust out shields even when someone was doing the dual blades.
Yes.
They're able to blow. Yeah, bring
There's
out a
probably
shield.
a
I thought that
bumper
was
button
cool.
or something where you just like hit it at the right time.
Yeah,
I'm
that's cool.
curious if because they obviously had dodge. I'm curious if there'll be a stamina meter for that, or if it will be a persistent dodge you can use at any time.
Who knows? Because there was not a single piece of HUD up on the
I
screen.
was wondering if you were gonna go there.
Of course, I gotta go there. It was just and I don't want to belabor this because I know I was trying to move on to the final story, but it was just something that I noticed, and it's always a frustrating point for me. If you're going to make a big hoop-de-doo about showing gameplay and you don't show any of the heads-up display or any of the user interface information, how can I trust that what I'm seeing is actually the gameplay? You got to show me some of the information that you're going to be communicating to the player. Like, this is not a Ghost of Tsushima moment where you're trying to take a screenshot of like how many leaves can I get on screen at one time, right? Like, then yeah, get rid of the HUD. But you're showing me combat. You're talking about combos. You're talking about a parry system. I need to see the HUD. I need to see it. And I was disappointed that they didn't show it, especially considering this game comes out in a couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this a little bit before the show. I wouldn't get too worried about that. I do think that's an interesting point of like you wanting to see it to know that it's technically real versus them being like, well, maybe we're tweaking our UI, maybe we're doing this, we don't really want to show it yet. But I think even having that up in as a work in progress probably would have been helpful to cement that yes, this is the real deal, this is what you'll be getting. And I think actually what they could have used on there, and I didn't see anywhere, is actually just a stamp on it that said work in progress or something.
Yeah.
So that people can't just take that footage and be like, "Mer, where'd the puddles go?" You know.
I mean, like normally, yeah, we were walking back and the lighting effects in particular are good, but normally we do see that as a standard now that it says like pre-alpha, work
Yeah.
in progress, in engine, etc. Just that people aren't misled by what they're seeing in the game. And I wanted to see some HUD. I go, if you're gonna make a big show of talking about the combat as in depth as they did in this presentation, Show me the HUD. I need to see the HUD because we can't accurately judge the combat without looking at some of the metrics. So
Yeah.
that was my only point.
Yeah, no, I definitely think
it's a fair point. I think about when Ghost of Tsushima showed their gameplay, we didn't know what the resolve was at that point, right? And we were all like, what are those like little circles in the bottom left corner? But they didn't talk about it.
Orbs.
What is the resolve? So maybe there's just some elements they're not ready to talk about yet. Who could say? Who knows?
Who could say indeed? Well, let's move on, shall we? If you guys want to find all of the details, you can, of course, catch the recap of the state of play over at the PlayStation blog. But now it's time to talk about some beef.
Ooh, yum, beef. Oh,
Where's the beef?
Beef. So this
what do you call a cow with no legs?
Beef?
A patty?
Ground beef.
Yeah.
Grounded beef.
I've heard that joke before. It's good. Ha ha.
I feel like it would be grounded.
We're going to talk about grounded in the next segment. If we can ever get there. All right, here's the final story. When Microsoft's ambitious Netflix of gaming service launches in September, it won't arrive on Apple devices, and here's why. So this write-up comes from Business Insider. This September, Microsoft plans to launch a major coup in the video game business, the world's first game streaming service with a built-in library Netflix style. Even though technically Microsoft is not marketing it like that. Business Insider, get your shit together. For $15 a month, you're going to be able to stream over 100 games to smartphones and tablets, but it won't be available on Apple's ubiquitous iPhone and iPad. The reason, an Apple spokesperson said on Thursday, is because Apple isn't able to review each game that's available through Game Pass. Quote, the App Store was created to be a safe and trusted place for customers to discover and download apps, and a great business opportunity for all developers, an Apple spokesperson told Business Insider. Before they go on our store, all of the apps are reviewed against the same set of guidelines that are intended to protect customers and provide a fair and level playing field to all developers. Our customers enjoy great apps and games from millions of developers, and gaming services can absolutely launch on the App Store as long as they follow the same set of guidelines applicable to all developers, including submitting games individually for review and appearing in charts and search. End quote. A similar service offered by Google, named Google Stadia,
You don't say.
LOL, has also run into roadblocks with Apple's App Store guidelines. It's available on Android phones and tablets, but not Apple devices. Ooh, so this is why Stadia hasn't launched on iOS yet.
Makes sense.
This is an interesting story. So we know that as part of the Xcloud test that's happening, the preview, that people who own iOS devices have been able to play it in a test version where obviously you can't buy anything. And so because of that, Apple is not blocking them because there's no money to be made because it's just a test service, right? But now Apple's saying, yo, if you want to put your service where you're going to make money on our service that costs us money to run, you have to follow the rules. And it's interesting watching the reactions from people online because my gut instinct is always, it's a free marketplace. It's a private platform. If you want to publish on that platform, you have to follow the platform's rules. Just like we publish our podcast on youtube.com. And in order to do so, we need to follow YouTube's rules and their terms of service and their guidelines. And if we don't, we can get mad at YouTube all we want, but YouTube runs and pays for the platform. And so we kind of either got to follow the rules or we got to find a place to host our own platform for video.
Yeah.
So we'll call him real quick.
Yeah.
Patreon.com/whatsgoodgames.
Yes, Britt.
Lovely patron of ours. I'm really bummed about the news rumors of Apple essentially killing Xcloud on iOS. Do you ladies have any thoughts or hot takes on this?
Oh,
yes, we do. I have a year left to pay on my iPhone, and if Xcloud isn't available by then, I'm jumping ship. And I've been in the Apple ecosystem for years.
Will, I have to say, I'm honestly surprised to hear that you're willing to leave the Apple ecosystem just for Project xCloud. Because we were talking about it before we were recording the show, and I am of the mind that the vast majority of iPhone owners are not going to leave their iPhone behind for Project xCloud. It's one streaming service of many, and the iPhone suite of services and technology and hardware is so comprehensive that once you're in and you see how amazing it is to work with, quite frankly, that I would honestly be shocked to hear you leave just for xCloud. But Will, apparently you exist and you're a person. And I would love,
If
Will,
you're a person,
to hear more about why this decision is so important for you for xCloud specifically. And hopefully you can write us at contact@whatsgoodgames.com or send us a message on patreon.com/whatsgoodgames and maybe, extend your explanation a little bit about why this decision is important for you, because I genuinely would love to hear, because it's, to me, like, when I saw this news, it instantly for me was, oh, they're going to come to an agreement, and it's going to be an agreement where Xbox and Microsoft have to cave to what Apple wants, because they cannot leave hundreds of millions of iOS devices behind for Xcloud. They just can't do it. Android is just too diverse of a field of devices, and it's difficult to develop for, even though it feels like it's easier, but it's not, because the architecture is all over the place for Android, which is why it took Fortnite forever to launch on Android, and they launched on iOS quite easily. Because Apple standardizes their stuff, and that is part of the service of being in the Apple ecosystem, and you got to pay for that. And Apple knows that, and they hold the keys, and they're like, oh, you want access to everybody that has iOS devices? Then you got to pay the Pied Piper. And we're the Piper, bitch. So pay us or go away. And that's literally what Apple is saying to Microsoft. And Microsoft just needs to bend the knee if they want Xcloud on the service. And I know there's people probably screaming at their phone or wherever you're listening to the podcast going, but no, Andrea, fuck Apple. It's wrong. They shouldn't do that. And like, your rage is understandable. It really is.
But is it?
I get it.
Because I'm like, this is, I don't know. To me, I just don't understand it at all, because this is the way that they've run their store. And it's actually what you like about it, because there's not a whole bunch of hot fucking garbage on
There's
it.
not
And it's
shit on
because
it? Yeah.
they curate that, because they do shit like this.
Yeah.
And it's only when it's something that feels like it's minorly inconvenient to you that you're mad about it. And that's what I'm like, but no. Like, yes, Apple runs this way for a reason. And
so the Business Insider. Oh, sorry.
No,
Sorry,
go
you're
ahead.
done. I thought I sensed a pause. So the Business Insider had a little bit of a blurb on this, and it said, given that I added that. They did not write that. Given that Apple allows services like Netflix and Spotify without reviewing every piece of content, why not allow a similar service for gaming? The difference boils down to the medium, according to Apple. Games are interactive, unlike music and film, and there are consumer expectations baked into the Apple Store related to gaming, aka no in-app payment through Apple's built-in services, for instance, and no App Store rating, among a variety of other things. So do you ladies know anything about the process to get your shit submitted?
Yes.
Like, for this. Okay, so how big of a deal is it if Microsoft be like, okay, let's individually submit all 100 plus of our games for this?
No, honestly, that's not what they need to do. I think what they need to do is they need to take the store out of the iOS app for Xcloud. So what that would mean is that when you download the Xcloud app on your iOS device, you have to log in with credentials that you've created on another device. You cannot set up a new account. You cannot exchange payment information. You cannot put any money into the app on iOS. If you are going to give Microsoft or Xbox any money through Project Xcloud, it all has to be done either on your Xbox device, your PC, or some other Android device. You cannot do it through the Apple App Store, because that's where Apple's saying, oh, you're exchanging money, we're taking our toll. And that's probably where Microsoft and Apple are butting heads, is that Microsoft clearly is going to have payments built into that service, where if you're playing a game on Xcloud and you want to buy like a DLC pack or a customizable cosmetic item or something in a game that's free for streaming, but they have like premium microtransactions built in, right? That if you give Apple the payment processing handshake of that, you have to give Apple a percentage of that handshake. And in order to get around that, you have to just not allow anybody who's streaming on Xcloud on an iOS to pay for anything. And obviously that's not what Microsoft wants, right? They want to be able to create a universal set of services that is going to be the same experience across all devices. And I don't blame them for that. But like, clearly they either got to like buck up and give Apple their share, or they have to change their iOS ecosystem. I don't see a world in which Apple and Microsoft don't come to an agreement, because if Xbox just straight up says, well, fuck you, Apple, we're not going to put Xcloud on iOS. Like,
There's no way.
I do not see that
Microsoft is the one
happening.
that loses in that equation.
Yeah, Xbox is the one that loses. Absolutely.
But I don't know if, I mean, obviously, yes, they have to pay Apple if they do all of that. For me, at least what the story sounded like to me was more of them disagreeing with the way they were trying to go about cert. That's what I said.
And that to me, I think, is the tricky part of this, particularly the secondary quote that you read, Brittany, about them making this about gaming specifically and not about movies, books, or music. because Apple obviously curates their platform, which we discussed, but I don't think that this really comes down to the medium. I think this absolutely comes down to fucking money.
I mean, granted, I actually don't know much about their other teams. I know more about their games team because I have friends who have worked there. They do very much go through like all of the games that are available on the iOS platform. So I don't want to say that this is necessarily just them being petty. I think it is just that they have a dedicated gaming team there and they're like, no, this is how we do it.
And I don't think it's them being petty either, because Apple loves money probably more than anything
True.
else.
Damn.
And like, why wouldn't they want this money? I just think that they also go, we have the most sought after hardware ecosystem in the world. We don't need you. We're fine. So if you
Correct.
want us, clearly you need us, because lots of people who want to play Project Xcloud have iOS devices they want to play it on. You need to succumb to the terms that we want. And I think that if Microsoft just offers them up money, that this problem of certification
Might
will
just
go
go away.
away.
But although if Google's having the same one, who has more money than Google and Microsoft? Obviously Amazon. But like there are other companies that do.
That's a great question. I honestly think Microsoft might be ahead of Alphabet. Let's see.
All right. Who has
But
the biggest
point
stockpile?
being, like,
Yeah,
these
keep going,
guys have a lot of money, and if it was just about money, I don't know about Google. I do know Microsoft would throw the money at it, because in general, that's how they've solved a lot of their problems in the past. They're just like, hey, fuck it, it's fine. Get it done. So like you said, I do anticipate this will be solved, if only because Microsoft tends to be a little bit more flexible in that term, and they are a company that is more willing to just take a loss on something if need be. But
Apple is number 2. So they're number 2 at $59.5 billion, according to Fortune magazine.
disgusting.
The top 10 most profitable companies. The Saudi Aramco, which I imagine is an oil company, is in number 1. Apple is number 2. The Industrial and Commercial Bank of China is number 3. Samsung is number 4. China Construction Bank, number 5. JP Morgan, number 6. Alphabet, which owns Google, is number 7. Agricultural Bank of China, number 8. Turns out China has a lot of money, everybody.
Yes.
Bank of America is number 9, and Bank of China is 0. Microsoft, not even on, not 0, sorry, 10. Microsoft, not even in the top 10. So
Google.
Yeah, so Apple's up there at the top of the chain being like, I'm sorry, what do you need?
Be like, I'm sorry, what do you need down there? I can't hear you from way up here at number 2. Also, 110 billion for the top one is really a hard number to wrap your brain around.
110 billion's a lot of
110
fucking money.
I can't even wrap my head around
Billion.
1 billion, let alone 110 billion.
And that's
Jeez
that's
Louise.
profits. Profits.
That hurts my soul.
Oh, Lord,
Oh yeah,
Marianne's
it's the
sweating
Saudi
right now.
Arabian oil company that oil
Spent
turns out makes money.
$18 on my next Chipotle bowl. I'm like, fuck, that's $18.
$18? How much extra avocado are you getting?
She got all the extra guac.
Nah,
She's
see,
like-
when you live kind of into six, man, you
You just gotta put a big order in.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
the delivery fee. Yeah.
Put up
or
shut
that.
up, and I'll shut up because I'll put up. I mean,
It's
so
like
ask
so
Chipotle.
you and Chipotle are like Microsoft and Apple here.
Yes.
And you are willing to compromise and say, you know what, I'm going to pay way more money than I should for Chipotle because I want the convenience of this coming to me. Whereas Microsoft right now is being like, but I don't want to pay the delivery fee. Why can't I just have the thing?
Pay the fucking
And the
delivery
answer
fee.
is, that's not how the world works, honey.
Yeah. It's interesting. I would love to be a fly on the wall in like the contract negotiation between both Google and Apple and Microsoft and Apple, because clearly
Yeah.
these three companies all have competing interests in the video game space, right? And they all technically need each other in a variety of ways. And I would hope that their very smart money and lawyer people would have worked out like what they need to do by now. And they'll come to an agreement. Like, don't get your panties in a twist. Friend of the show, Greg Miller, like tweeted "fuck off, Apple," and I'm like, really? You think that that's gonna be helpful? Like,
Because
dude,
I
like,
think
no.
that the thought from a lot of folks is that they're trying to, and this is what I saw because I tweeted, oh, that's a bummer. And I got a lot of responses from people saying, oh, Apple is just trying to monopolize they don't want anyone else on their platform selling their games.
I mean, yeah, obviously.
Obviously, yeah. and
Did
if
you
wanna
see the
use that-
sales, the money charts we just read off?
If you want to use their platform, I mean, you need them honestly more than they need you. Of course, they're gonna be like, yeah, give us some money for that. You don't just. It kind of reminds me of when we've been running this brand for how long? Okay, we are nowhere near an Apple. I wish we were, but
we
my
are
God.
not at that 52
We're not
billion
even like
or whatever
a
it was.
speck. We're not
Oh,
even like
boy.
a microscopic flea on a flea. But all I'm saying is when you run your shit for a long time and you get someone comes to you and they're like, hey, here's this thing, please promote it for free on all of your channels. You're like, excuse us, do you know how long it took to build this platform? How much blood, sweat, and tears it took? You don't just get to access this because you want it. You got to work for it. You got to send us $1 billion per sponsored post.
I mean, I think that's like the takeaway for me is like people can be mad and yell at Apple all they want. But like you said, Brittany, Apple has created a brand that is synonymous with quality and is one of the most ubiquitous brands in the world that's been going for decades. And they've earned the right to set the terms to access their platform. And Microsoft can choose to play by those terms or not. And that's going to come down to what's pro-consumer. And Aaron Greenberg on the show just a couple weeks ago said that they're all about providing value to their consumers. And so I kind of got to go, well, feels like you kind of got to eat it on this one, Microsoft, if you want to keep providing value to your consumers.
Yup. But just like they ate it on the HD drive. You guys remember that? What was that called? What was the other one called? Fuck. Instead of Blu-ray.
HD DVD.
HD, was it just
Wasn't
HD?
it?
Was it? Something.
thought
It was
for sure
something
it
very
was.
simple and sort of stupid like that.
I'm
But
pretty sure it was HD
I think
DVD.
it was just.
And we all were like, HD
Yeah.
DVD feels like it makes sense. It's like everybody knows it's DVD, but HD. But then we're like, what the heck is Blu-ray? But Blu-ray won.
and then Blu-ray was like, suck it. This is what it is.
We saw what happened to the laser disc, and we're not going out like that.
We will not be chumps like the laser disc.
Oh my goodness. Well, this conversation has certainly gone places. Brittany, you want to quickly run us through, or in case you missed it before we head to the break?
I would love to. So this is through IGN. Bethesda has announced that Doom Eternal and The Elder Scrolls Online will both be released on PS5 and Xbox Series X. And those who own either game on PS4 or Xbox One will be able to upgrade to the matching new version for free. Bethesda also noted that its teams are working hard on ensuring both games will support backwards compatibility when the new consoles are released, possibly hinting that upgrades won't be ready by both consoles' holiday 2020 launch window. So if you play those games, you get a free upgrade. Woo, go you.
All right, everybody, and that is going to do it for our news segment for this week. Thanks for hanging in there. We hope that you enjoyed the conversation. When we come back, we're going to talk about what we've been playing. That includes Marvel's Avengers beta. We also are talking about Grounded. Britt has been playing Paper Mario, the Origami King, and you guys have been having a lot of fun with Fall Guys. Stick with us. We'll be right back. Hey everybody, Andrea here. Just a couple of quick announcements and housekeeping about what's happening on What's Good Games over the next couple of days. If you missed it, we had a State of Play watch along at twitch.tv/What's Good Games. You can catch the VOD of. Plus, this Sunday, August 9th, starting at 4 p.m. Pacific time, I'm doing a birthday stream. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing some Fall Guys. We're going to do some Dream Surfing and Animal Crossing. And of course, we've got that fireworks show that starts at 7 p.m. So we'll be streaming for a couple of hours. Hopefully you can pop by and say hello. Have some champagne, eat some cake, take a shot, or, take a nap, whatever you want to do. Plus, we've got two very special guests joining us next week on What's Good Games. On Monday, August 10th, on What's Good Games Live, Funhouse's Elise Willems is finally joining us on the show. We had such a great time visiting them to play Funhouse Feud that we said to Elise, you got to come on by and be on the stream. So please join us at 11 a.m. Pacific time on our Twitch channel. And then next week on the show, Rebecca Valentine is joining us. We apologize that she was supposed to be on the show this week, but we had to move the show because of the Sony stream, and then that messed up her schedule, and so we thankfully got her rescheduled for next week. So we look forward to you joining us then. See you later. What's good, everybody? Welcome back. It is the final segment of the What's Good Games podcast. We're going to talk about a couple of games that we've been playing. But before we get to that, in the mere minutes that we were on break between segments, it appears that Microsoft has made a statement in regards to this Apple fiasco. Let's go to our correspondent, Brittany Brombacher, for the full story.
Hello, I'm Brittany Brombacher, live here in Washington State, and I won't do that anymore. IGN just put out this article a few minutes ago titled, Apple explains why Xbox Game Pass won't launch on iOS. Microsoft responds. Dun, dun, dun. So none of us have read it. So ladies, before I get into it, do you think Microsoft is going to be cordial, or do you think they're going to go out, claws out?
I don't think they're going to go claws out. I think
Why would
that's
you
a bad
attack
call.
the hand that you need?
I mean, that's a good statement. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. A Microsoft spokesperson spoke to The Verge and said, Apple stands alone as the only general purpose platform to deny consumers from cloud gaming and game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass. The full statement reads as follows. Our testing period for the Project Xcloud preview app for iOS has expired. Unfortunately, we do not have a path to bring our vision of cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to gamers on iOS via the Apple App Store. Apple stands alone as the only general-purpose platform to deny consumers from cloud gaming and game subscription services like Xbox Game Pass, and it consistently treats gaming apps differently, applying more lenient rules to non-gaming apps, even when they include interactive content. All games available in the Xbox Game Pass catalog are rated for content by independent industry rating bodies such as the ESRB and regional equivalents. We are committed to finding a path to bring cloud gaming with Xbox Game Pass Ultimate to the iOS platform. We believe that the customer should be at the heart of the gaming experience, and gamers tell us they want to play, connect, and share anywhere, no matter where they are. We agree. End statement.
I mean, it's a little catty.
It's definitely catty, but at the end of it, they're like, fine, we're committed to finding a path because
let's get our little jab.
But interesting, like this very much reads to me like they're trying to incentivize outrage among the community and trying to drive a bunch of like people to yell at Apple. Like that feels like it's a very manipulative move in that sense to be like, aren't we the good guys? We just want to give you this cool, fun thing. Apple's being really annoying about this. And like, so that I feel like we're reading that. That's definitely what this is written to do. And that sort of irritates me because like I see the way you've crafted this and it's very much shifting blame and it is trying to paint Apple as like this big bad very lightly. Obviously they're not like overtly saying any of this, but yeah, I don't know. We've talked a lot about it already, but that is my thoughts on this statement.
Yeah, I feel like this is just them being whiny. Honestly, it's just them being like, "Oh, help us! You're not helping us."
There you go.
But we're fine. We wanna publish on iOS. We'll figure it out.
If they publish on iOS, they can still continue the narrative of we are doing something despite Apple being incredibly difficult and denying consumers blah 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 blah. We did a good thing. We fucking triumphed. Go us. Pat us on the back.
I like how it says, and it consistently treats gaming apps differently, applying more lenient rules to non-gaming apps, even when they include interactive content. Yeah, it's funny. They're calling them out.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that might not be even an incorrect statement. It just feels a little bit weird to try. It feels like airing dirty laundry, like publicly, which I don't really agree with. I think it's kind of strange.
These kinds of fights happen in the biz dev community constantly, and it's not just in video games, and it's in business dealings all over the world in all kinds of industries. Like, take your shit behind closed doors where it belongs and work it out. Like, getting a bunch of people on the internet to yell at Apple is going to be completely fruitless and and like pun intended. So like, honestly, like, like you have a better use of your time. You taking the time to make an angry post on the internet to Apple is going to be like nothing to them. It's going to be like a mosquito biting like the skin of an elephant. Like, they don't care. Like, they literally
bit me,
care
I'd
less.
care a lot. I swell up real bad.
Simon was like, don't bite me though.
Please don't come at me.
There you go.
I need my mosquito nets.
Yeah, I just like this whole thing feels futile to me. Like, keep your drama to yourself.
Resistance is futile.
Work it
You
out.
probably just could have kept that little second paragraph in there, and you would have been good. Anyway.
Yeah.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The plot thickens. To be continued. ...
Indeed. Now let's talk about superheroes. So you guys may have seen this weekend embargo was up for Marvel's Avengers beta. Thank you to Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics for providing me access to the Marvel's Avengers beta. So that's out of the way. The beta is now available starting today, August 7th, on PlayStation 4 for those that have pre-ordered the game. It then opens up for open access on PlayStation 4, Xbox closed access. I believe those are pre-orders. And then PC also pre-order access from Friday, August 14th to Sunday, August 16th. And then one more weekend where all platforms are going to get open access to the beta from the 21st of August to the 23rd of August. So you want the chance to try, you will get the chance to try without pre-ordering. You just have to wait. And quite honestly, it's in your favor to be in the last beta wave because the game will only get better and more stable as they make improvements and tweaks to the servers and other gameplay elements through these beta periods.
That's why, friends, I never play betas.
Mm.
I don't want to be your tester. Get out of here with that.
I enjoy playing betas because I think that if it's a game I'm particularly excited for, but I also like, I like being part of the hotness, It's
Yeah,
fun.
I know. I'm the person who's like, playing the beta will actually ruin the game for me.
Because
Oh,
then you have to
no.
do.
Because
the
then I
same
know I have to
content
do that
over
section
again.
over again. I don't
Yeah.
want to.
No, I feel you, girl. I feel you.
It's dumb, and I will admit that it's a dumb reason, but that's how I am
Listen, you
motivated.
get to have your
But
reasons,
anyways,
though. Yeah.
Tell us about your time in
Oh,
Avengers Land.
I will. So the three of us got to play the Marvel Avengers demo, which is essentially the tutorial part of this mission that is the very opening of the game at PAX West.
Last year.
Last year? Was that when we got to play
Yes.
this? It was a while ago. But we all pretty much had a fun time playing.
Yeah.
But I think it left a lot of questions about how is the RPG progression going to work? How is the online co-op going to work? And at the time, they weren't really answering too much. But now we have a lot more deep dives since they've started doing these war tables for Marvel's Avengers. So I have some B-roll playing here that is kind of like a beta walkthrough for people who are watching on YouTube. If you guys want to take a look. There's been lots of outlets talking about the Avengers beta this week, and it seems like the reviews are pretty mixed on their thoughts on the beta. Now, I do want to remind everybody, this is a beta, and it's not final product, but the game is coming out next month. So what you see here is going to be very similar to what you see next month, but they still have an opportunity to optimize a couple of things behind the scenes.
You'd really be looking at performance
Yes,
over
exactly.
anything else.
And I did not have any performance problems when I was playing the game. So we started out doing a little bit of gameplay from the core 5 Avengers that you see in the opening. So that's Thor, Iron Man, Black Widow, Hulk, and Captain America. Yes. Of those 5, my 2 favorites were Captain America and Black Widow, which is a surprise because generally I don't care for Black Widow as a character in the universe of Marvel Comics and MCU, but
she's so nimble.
She's nimble, and she's voiced by the incredible Laura Bailey.
She's voiced
in
by
this
my
game.
boo.
Laura.
Yeah.
So Laura's amazing, and I actually really enjoyed what I got to play with Black Widow here, and I think the combination between switching back and forth between her more martial arts infused combat style hand-to-hand and then the gunplay was really fun. So here we have
What the
Miss
fuck
Marvel.
is that?
So this is Kamala Khan. So she's one of the new characters in kind of the video game world of the Avengers. Obviously, Kamala Khan has been in the comic books for quite some time and is a really cool, interesting character. So she's this young girl who gets affected by these kind of energy waves that are released during A-Day, they call it, when we've seen in this trailer several times where the ship goes down and something's happened to Captain America, and all of these people, these citizens around this kind of explosion get infected with this energy and they become what's called inhumans. And so Kamala Khan is an inhuman, and so she is got this it's called embiggens is what her super is called, when she just gets big and she makes parts of her body very big, which is why she gets like a really big hand or a really big foot. And then her super is like she gets really big, which is kind of fun to see her running around with Hulk because they're the 2 biggest characters on screen at the same time. And so the beta has quite a bit of content in it, actually, that you get to play. So I played for a solid 2 hours and didn't even finish all of the beta content. And so for me, like, that's really impressive amount of content to be playing. And you get to play a whole mission as Hulk, and you play with Kamala. And I really loved Kamala's combat as well. I honestly was very disappointed with what I played with Hulk's combat this time around, because when we played the demo, I actually was very interested in the type of gameplay that he had, because he felt so powerful and he moved so quickly.
He was really floaty, which I thought was kind of a strange choice for somebody like Hulk,
Big
who
boy.
is a big boy. But he would just like spring up as if he weighed nothing. And that to me felt a little bit weird. But again, we played it almost a year ago, so I kind of figured they would maybe tweak the...
So he definitely feels weightier now. But what I was running into was that You really need to use Hulk's heavy melee attack to disrupt a lot of enemies, shielded enemies, heavies, etc. And the wind-up animation for his heavy takes so goddamn long that I'm like, there's no way that like real Hulk in any kind of comic book universe would have this like painfully slow like wind-up animation, because Hulk is fast and big and strong. And I just didn't feel fast and big and strong. And like, I played with 6 different Avengers in this demo. I only died playing as Hulk because I felt like his combat got super muddled, which is like, you would think if you're playing as the tank, that you're not that you can take a beating and keep on going, but it did not feel that way. And I think a lot of that had to do with either some of the communication with the HUD, with I couldn't really tell when my health was getting low and when I needed to get out of combat, and also just the combat feeling, unfortunately, very interchangeable between a lot of the heroes. Light melee, heavy melee, super, dodge. The dodge, oh my gosh. I laughed out loud at Hulk's dodge, because here you have this giant beast of a creature, and his dodge is this tiny like little juke to the side. He's just like, oops, sidestep, oops.
Like, you can't hit me. I'm the gingerbread man.
I'm just like, what happened? But I think that this game has a ton of potential. Now, I unfortunately did not get the opportunity to play co-op with anybody, because during the press beta over the weekend, I had company in town. My mom's visited, which I've mentioned on the show. And so I didn't log online. And so when I was playing solo and didn't have anybody to play with. But you can play up to 4-player co-op, and then your teammates are filled in by AI. And I watched a bunch of other people's content. I watched the Easy Allies impressions. I watched the Kind of Funny impressions on some other channels, kind of listening to what people were saying and kind of what they thought. And it feels like if you're a big fan of Marvel's Ultimate Alliance, you're going to love this game. The lore, the deep, like, Easter eggs that you're going to find from years of Marvel comic books are absolutely there and present, and you can see them right away. But that hack and slash gameplay that you get from Ultimate Alliance is really just kind of up-resed here and has like a shinier coat of paint on it from Crystal Dynamics. And I don't want to be reductive of the work that Crystal has done on this game. I really don't, because I think that they clearly have put a lot of effort into the combat, but the beta specifically did not give me a really great impression of just how diverse and deep these characters can go. And I know that's difficult to do in a beta. And it's tough because like I want to judge the beta on what I played and want to be very excited for more things to come. But at the same time, I did not leave wanting to keep playing this game. And I don't know if that's because like I just don't have connections to these characters and their deep, lore in the Marvel universe, or if it was just too much. So we have a little bit of menus here that you're going to see in some of this B-roll. My first impression of some of the menus were that there was just way too much information on screen, and a lot of the font was super small. I actually took a screenshot of one section where they pulled up like a piece of
sorry,
like
her hand.
Kamala's hand. Yeah,
It's like Stretch
The
Armstrong
animation
over
on
there.
that must be an engineer's nightmare.
but she was probably the most fun to play with besides Captain America. And of course, we don't know what's happening with Cap. They've set up in the story. We talked about how mad I was about what they did with Cap in the beginning of the game. But like playing with the shield was just so satisfying. And I'm really excited to play more. Oh my gosh. Playing with Iron Man was a disappointment for me. And I know that some people really enjoyed the flight. I did not. I did not like the reticule system. I didn't like the shooting mechanics. I think after what we've seen with Anthem and the javelins, like the bar has been set so high for like suit flight and combat that it just did not hit the mark. But that's what's going to be the challenge for this game, right? You have so many different diverse and unique heroes that you're trying to have their own unique identity, and at some point the ball is going to drop and you're not going to be able to give everybody equal attention. And I think that's really kind of what Crystal Dynamics is suffering from here, is that they have so many interesting heroes that they're trying to do everything well without really excelling in a single thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it totally makes sense. And unfortunately, a lot of the reviews I was seeing and people, just the general chatter on Twitter was like, yeah, a lot of folks are worried. And it's weird because looking at it here, it looks like a polished, great, fun, good time. but it sounds like it's aiming toward what Steimer has described it as. It's kind of a good popcorn flick. You know, hop in, play some multiplayer with some friends. Don't expect anything too groundbreaking or too revolutionary, and just have fun punching and killing shit.
Yeah, I think this reminds me, obviously, 2 different properties, so don't fucking come at me. But this will probably remind me a lot of my time that I spent with Greg on DC Universe Online. Obviously,
I thought of DC Universe Online immediately too.
Yeah, I'm like, obviously not an MMO, so structurally very different in that regard, but in the sense that, like, hey, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop online with a few friends. We'll run through, I don't remember what they're calling them, but
War table
run
or
through
war
some
missions?
war table missions, whatever the
And
fuck
there's
they
also
are.
another kind of mission here. Let me look it up.
Yeah,
But keep going.
but you know, we'll hop through those things. I'll get some new gear tonight. It'll be cool. I get to play as whoever I want. Like, that's how I kind of see this game. And I think that can fulfill a void for a lot of people that really just want to do that. I obviously don't want to judge anything before it comes out, but I don't necessarily think this will be on anybody's Game of the Year list as top, right? Like, maybe in certain categories it could do well. But that's basically just given kind of what I've played very lightly. So that is obviously a very green judgment. But I do think this game will be a lot of fun.
I haven't seen Avengers, don't at me. So how much the success of Avengers, the film, do you think is going to impact the game at all? You know what I mean?
I think there's been enough of a wait between what we're seeing in this game and when the movie came out. And honestly, the delay was probably really good for them. That to me, like, I think audiences are going to recognize that these are very different universes, right? The canon's different. Clearly, the voice actors, the likenesses are all different. The storyline is different. I really hope people stop making this comparison to the MCU, because I think Marvel and Crystal Dynamics and Square Enix have bent over backwards to say, this is not the MCU. You don't expect to see Robert Downey Jr. Don't expect to see any of the characters, the voices of the people you know from the MCU. That's not this. This is an original story. And I think that's in Crystal's favor. Of all the people that I played with, I still loved Kamala Khan the best. I think that she's, from what I've seen in the beta, now this is just about the beta impressions. I just think that she's such an interesting, young, fresh character, and she's somebody who hasn't gotten very much spotlight in Marvel's history in TV and film properties, if really at all. I don't think we've seen her, have we?
I think maybe she's been teased for upcoming things. I don't know if because she's been cast for sure. But I don't know if they've filmed it yet or if it just hasn't released.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not up to speed on that, so please don't quote me on anything about, you know, her as a character and kind of, you know, where she stands within the greater Marvel universe. And just as a reminder, her name is Ms. Marvel. That is her character name. I'm using her government name, air quotes. But yeah, her character name is Ms. Marvel. But she just seems like she's going to be a really cool addition, and I think it's going to be interesting kind of see where she goes. Because the storyline that I played with her, she has a mission with Bruce Banner, played by Troy Baker, and they kind of go on this mission together. And seeing their very different style side by side, I thought was really interesting and fun. But it's... I think that there's a lot here. There's a lot of really in-depth gameplay elements when you break down the RPG, multiple skill trees, a very big gear system, and of course, what they've talked about, what seems like an endless amount of potential cosmetics. But what I think is really maybe the trouble is that I don't feel like...
Sorry, I just finally found, I'm like looking. I finally found, so at Disney's D23, Miss Marvel will be a new series that will launch on Disney Plus streaming. I don't think they've announced the actress yet. I thought that they had. But that is the thing that is coming. So she will get a little bit more of a spotlight to come. But yes, she has not yet.
Okay. Well, that's great. Thank you for that. Thank you for that update. I think that's important. And it's also, I think, important to let people know that, you know, she is a Muslim American character as well, which I think the representation is important. We talk about representation and how representation matters a lot here on What's Good Games. And I love that they have her in this game as a forefront character, as somebody who looks like she's going to be taking a more starring role than maybe we originally thought when they announced this game. So just kind of talking a little bit more about, I'm going to try to roll back on some of this footage so we can see a little bit more of the menu systems. So they have a very deep RPG progression built into this game that relies heavily on a gear system. And
so DC Universe Online.
I mean, really, I know that There's been way more people than I'm comfortable with comparing this game to Destiny. Stop that. Stop comparing it to Destiny.
She zoomed on herself.
It's not Destiny. It's nothing like Destiny. It's co-op. That's literally the only thing it has in common with Destiny. Got it? Stop it. Just stop it.
Not
Okay.
everything is Destiny.
Yes. I just like it like irritates me so much because Destiny is so unique in so many ways, and the shared world part of Destiny is really what sets it apart from everything else. And this game is not that. You don't get to run around in the game of Marvel's Avengers and then run into other groups of players. That's not how it works.
I think people see the gear and they're like, Destiny! And
It's
there
an
you go.
RPG thing. I mean, and Destiny pulled it from MMOs.
Yeah, everybody borrows from everybody else. It's okay.
Yes.
We're one big happy family.
I just think it is an incredibly misleading to say that Marvel's Avengers plays anything like Destiny. It doesn't.
I mean,
No.
It's first off, it's not a first-person shooter. Marvel's Avengers is third-person action adventure, and you are superheroes. You're not, space magicians. Anyway,
polka gun. Anyway, RPGs.
Magic.
yes. So the gear system is really what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So the gear system is very in-depth. I mean, you have your traditional gear system. You have gauntlets, boots, chest piece, etc. But what I discovered about it was that so much of this information was on screen at one time. And let me see if I can roll forward here and try to find exactly where in this demo here we can find some. Here we go. Well, sort of.
Sort of. This is
That's
our
more of
objective.
missions.
Oh,
Let's
back.
see.
A
That's
little
more
bit, a little
mission
bit.
stuff. That's the war table.
There
Trying
was
to
an
find-
Iron Man one for sure that I saw at some point.
Yeah, where they had gear.
Yeah.
And there's four
Oh,
different.
right here.
Here we go. There's 4 difficulty levels. Let me try to just pause it here.
Pause that video.
So there's 4 difficulty levels, and each higher difficulty you go, you get better gear, more XP. Very standard stuff, right?
Yep.
So what I found really challenging about the gear system is that there's all of these different pieces of gear, but you don't see those pieces of gear reflected on your character because you have these cosmetic skins, which are separate from your gear pieces. Now, there's 2 schools of thought about that. Some people really like that. Some people hate that.
I like that.
Yeah,
Only because I want to see them wear stupid outfits, and I know that we can do that.
I do too. I also am into that. But then if you're going to make cosmetics a big focus of your game, I kind of question why you would make a super deep RPG filled with all different types of gear that levels with you and that you're incentivized to chase higher difficulties to get better gear when at the end of it, you're still going to want to cosmetically look the same unless those pieces of gear have a very big influential role to play on gameplay. Right. And I think that has yet to be seen if the gear pieces are really going to be impactful or not.
I think it actually depends more on how you obtain the visual ones. Because like in Guild Wars, a lot of the gear you'll get is not necessarily, I mean, technically the legendary gear, they always will bump up to be the best, but it takes so long to get there that's why. And those are just like, they're mostly visual flair. They are technically better than a lot of things in the game, but they aren't wildly better than everything in the game. They are more of just like, I'm chasing something to chase something. And I think that's part of why they put in this system in the game where they're like, you're really chasing the parts and how you look is somewhat separate. But it sounds like so far we're not necessarily sure how you chase the other part. And that will be a key factor in the longevity of the game.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think that what I'm really interested to see is how these both Warzone missions and hero missions are going to be replayable over time. Because when I spoke to the team at Crystal Dynamics, it seemed like they weren't really, what?
I'm sorry, I'm smiling because I'm thinking of my time on DC Universe Online and how many times Greg and I replayed some of the dumbest fucking missions and the really terrible. I'm sorry, I still love this game. It was total crap. The voice lines would get stuck in our head. They were just like. So I was laughing at some of the voice lines because they are delivered in a hilarious fashion.
No,
having her own little party.
I'm
get
having my
it.
own party in my head.
I mean, it's the same thing for me with Destiny, right? Like there's certain strikes that I could probably like recite back word for word. And I think that anybody who plays any kind of grindy MMO RPG like knows that and is totally okay with it. They're like, hey, grinding is part of the game. And like I think it's still unclear just how much grinding is going to be a part of the overall progression of Marvel's Avengers. But I think like at the end of it, you have to go into this game with a love of these Marvel characters in order to stay hooked, because otherwise I just felt like the gameplay is something that we've seen before. I honestly did not see anything in my time with Marvel's Avengers so far that felt truly innovative. And I think that that is problematic because of the competition of titles in the space right now. We're at the end of the generation. You expect games to look and feel great, and this game looks good, but I honestly think Shadow of a Tomb Raider looked better. I think the graphics and the animation, the details in the environment, all of it, like, just was a better looking game, and that's troublesome. And I think, though, that there's going to be a gigantic section of the audience that does not care. Because I see how popular Ultimate Alliance 3 was on Switch and how many people love that game and how well it sold. And I know that those same people are looking at this going, this is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
I want to run through a corridor level where I'm smashing boxes and picking up orbs and leveling up my character and getting gear. And in that sense, Marvel's Avengers absolutely succeeds in what I played in the beta. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit more in depth, a little bit more, more.
I don't expect this to be.
I don't know if you're gonna find it. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't expect this to be a Spider-Man level.
Oh no.
And
I think no.
Yeah,
No.
but for me, this is like you said, Marvel Alliance or a DCUO that's not an MMO. That is really just more of the strike missions together with your friends.
Yeah.
And to me, that's totally fine. So I guess, I mean, as with anything in life, it is all about expectation setting and knowing what you're getting into before you get in there, and not overblowing it to be something that it couldn't possibly be.
Overblowing isn't necessarily a good thing. It kind of reminds me, so I'm a big fan of the anime Fairy Tail, and Fairy Tail just came out on PS4 and Switch. And I love playing this game because it has all the characters in the story that I absolutely love and have come to learn to love over the past, like 5 or 6 years since I've been familiar with this franchise. The gameplay sucks. I mean, the battles are kind of fun, but other than that, it's everything we've seen before. So it's that thing, it's like, you got to try to turn off that critical eye and just enjoy it for what it is. And it sounds like for fans of Marvel that you're going to get those Easter eggs. You're going to get that story. You're going to get that character interaction. And maybe, like you're saying, that's all people need. So yeah, like, just to echo what both of you are saying, set that expectation going into it. Because I mean, Andrea isn't the only one who's raised these same concerns. So it's, it's that thing where, like, different opinions, but if everyone's saying the same thing, it's probably true. So just keep your expectations open.
100%. And like, again, to echo what Brittany said, like, this game is not a bad game. I didn't play it. It wasn't broken. Like, the graphics weren't shit. Like, the gameplay was fun. But I just, some games are going to be really fun, good games. And some games are going to be, like, genre-defining, excellent games. And
speaking of genre-defining, excellent games, I feel like we should move on.
We're going to
the next thing, which I think will be the most epic, and I really want to hear Brittany talk about it. And that's Grounded.
Oh, I was like,
genre defining.
Genre-defining game.
Okay.
Yes, we are moving on. Yes. So final thoughts. Like, it was just at so if you guys are interested in trying it and you want to try it out for yourself, again, you do not have to pre-order the game to try the beta. You just have to wait till the final weekend, which I believe, again, August 21st. Let me just get that date. Yeah, so Friday, August 21st is when all platforms will have open access to try the beta for free. So try it out for yourself and let us know what you guys think about it. Maybe you loved playing with Hulk and I didn't. Maybe you also loved playing with Ms. Marvel. Let us know. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Okay, Grounded. So this game is in Xbox Game Pass preview, technically, right? From Obsidian Entertainment. And we talked about this with Zombie Kills. And it's basically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game. Brittany,
have you ever seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Yes, I have.
Okay, great.
They asked me the same question. I was like, yes, I have seen that. I can't tell you everything that happens, though. I remember a few distinct scenes. Of course I can't.
Yeah.
But, like, some certain scenes I remember, so I know I've seen parts of it. Okay. So Grounded, for those of you who aren't aware, it follows the player character. You can choose from 4 different teenagers to play as. They are shrunk by ominence. Probably said that wrong. Shrink ray to the size of an ant and must survive in the micro world of a suburban backyard. This dangerous landscape can be navigated solo with up to 3 additional players in cooperative multiplayer, working together to progress through story-based missions or explore the farthest reaches of the game world. You must gather, craft, and build bases with everyday objects like blades of grass, which I did. Search for life-saving resources such as the dew off of grass to quench your thirst, or transforming acorn shells into body armor to defend against a host of unpredictable creatures like ants. Okay.
Wait, you have a thirst meter?
Yes.
Is this like Don't Starve, but in a tiny grounded form? In a like
So you do
Tiny I Shrunk the Kid form?
There, pretty well. I haven't played Don't Starve enough of it to talk about it.
I love
but
Don't Starve.
there are survival elements, and something I noticed right from the get-go is you can turn those off if you want to just explore. So there's a few different difficulty options. I did the normal, which I think is like medium, and then there's a harder difficulty, and then there's an exploration. I don't know what the exact name of it is, but essentially it turns off the survival elements so you can just enjoy and craft and build and survive the bugs that are going to try to eat your face off. I didn't find the survival elements too crazy. They were okay to manage. You just got to find a jukebox, but I digress. A juice box, but I digress.
Like a jukebox in the backyard?
There might be one. Who could say? So you start off and you have 4 different characters you can choose from: Max, Willow, Pete, or Hoops. They have all the same abilities. They all play the same. They just have different dialogue.
Just a visual?
Different dialogue, different characters. They look obviously very different, and it's fun because depending on who you pick, your characters will banter back and forth with each other, and they have different goals and ambitions, and you kind of learn about it even though they're teenagers. They're cute. So yeah, you're in this backyard like I just said, and it seems huge, but it's funny because the distance from objectives is told in centimeters.
Oh
so
no.
It was funny because I was playing with Jason and he's like, okay, our base is 5 centimeters this way. I'm like, wow,
5 centimeters.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone, because you're tiny itty bitty, and we were.
No, I know, but we use inches. It's America.
Oh yeah.
I mean, she's not wrong.
I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. We do use a different system, but still.
Yeah. So as you're exploring the backyard, you find all sorts of things. You find grass, weeds, flowers, bugs, trash. Could be a juice box, which you might want to make a marker for, so then you know where you're going to get your water, or your juice rather. And as you're playing, you discover that something obviously went very wrong. You really don't know what happened. And there are audio logs that you can find throughout the sandbox that gives you some insight as to who these people are, who might have done it, what the background of all this is. Who done it? So the demo itself, to finish the story part of it, takes like 10 to 15 minutes. So we did that part, and essentially it's you waking up, and you're like, oh, this is weird. Where am I? And it gives you a little hand holding.
Oh, an ant!
I'm an ant. Oh my god, it's so big. There's these really cute aphids though that are really fucking cute.
Aw, aphids suck though. They fucking kill all your plants.
Yeah, but in this game they don't try to hurt you. They're like the only thing that
they
doesn't
wouldn't
try
hurt
to kill you.
You're not made of the yummy chlorophyll.
Everything else wants to fucking kill you. Eat chlorophyll. Excuse me, you're right. But even the ladybugs try to kill you.
Ladybugs try to kill you?
Yeah.
That seems not in their nature.
I know, they're so nice and cute IRL, but I guess in this game they're just devil monsters. And it's funny.
Now I feel like I need to look up the zoo books information on ladybugs.
Oh my goodness, zoo books again.
Oh my gosh. So when you first start off, it kind of holds your hand a little bit, which is nice because I'm admittedly pretty green when it comes to survival games, and they usually don't stick with me, but something about this one I really enjoyed. I think it is because it's the premise of you're a teenager and you're in a backyard, and I think because of that it's like, oh, this is kind of neat. Like, what are things gonna look like from this perspective? So it's like, okay, you can drink the still water, the puddles in the ground, but that will cause your hunger to go down. So it's like find clean water. Instead of find clean water, you want to craft a dew collector, or maybe you'll just find random water droplets throughout, which look like big jelly jubblies, but they're little drops of water, and you can slurp from them. Jelly jubblies. I don't know what a jelly jubbly is, but it's a drop of water.
It's like jubilees?
No, jubblies. Oh. It just sounded like a jiggly substance.
Jiggly
like jelly
puff.
Yes, you find little jiggly puffs all over the ground and grounded, and you drink them twice. Oh god, amazing. That is so weird. So as you're as you're collecting stuff, you'll go through and you'll find little sprigs, is what they're called, sprigs and pebblets. And those are some of the things you can just find from the get-go. You don't need to destroy anything to collect them. So you can take those, craft a pebblet hammer, and then you can go start knocking grass down. And so an interesting mechanic in this is that they have these things called research stations, scattered throughout. And how it works is you go up to one of them, and then it scans your resources that you have, and from that it unlocks recipes that you can use related to whatever it is you scanned. And it has 3 charges. And after you've used all 3, for some reason, it cools down for like 5 to 10 minutes IRL time. It's just as a way to keep you from spamming it, I suppose. I'm not sure. So then as you unlock more recipes, you can start doing more things like crafting bases and whatnot. Your typical run-of-the-mill stuff is kind of like what I get from it. The weird twist in this, though, is that there's some kind of like science fiction involved, obviously, because, oh my God, a shrink ray and what's happening. And there's this little character that you meet named Burgle, and Burgl, and he is a robot designed to flip hamburgers, created by someone. I don't know exactly what the scope is. But you find him, and this is where it kind of loses me, because again, the plot of it was like 10 minutes long. You find him underneath an oak tree in some like metal base that looks like a bunker that he would want to survive in the apocalypse. I don't know, it's kind of weird.
And he's tiny?
Yeah, I mean, he's your size, so he must be very tiny.
So he's flipping bug burgers? Because, like, what other sort of meat would you have? You don't have the world's tiniest beef with you.
I think Burgle was the assistant to the scientist who probably shrunk you.
That's
kind of
that makes sense.
Kind of what I'm gathering from the audio
Sure.
logs, but there's not that many to go off of. So there's this currency called raw science, and it allows you to gather more recipes and to upgrade your whatever it is you want to upgrade. The upgrades that I saw were multi-story bases. You can upgrade your torch, which is what you'll need if you're going to go down maybe like an anthole and you can't see anything, so you got to build a little torch. It lets you fortify your bases and update your scanner, which is a gross word, but it's essentially these little wrist watches that the kids find themselves on with when they wake up, and it lets them know what their hunger level is, what their thirst level is. You can upgrade it to let you know if there's raw science around, which is the currency that you need to make certain upgrades. And Burgle also has quests for you. It can be something like kill 3 soldier ants or explore this area and do this. And the one story thing we did is you're kind of exploring, and it's like investigate this mysterious device. And it looks like a piece of, it kind of looks like a gutted Game Boy in a sense, but I don't think it was a gaming device. It's kind of weird when you're seeing things so close. You're like, what the hell is this thing? I think it's probably where the kids got shrunk, because there's all these rays pointing at this one specific spot in the ground, and you have to go there and investigate this little machine that looks like that gutted Game Boy or whatever it was. And you have to you walk up to it, and they're like, okay, there's a wire that's clearly broken on that one laser over there, so investigate what went wrong. So then you got to go figure out like what happened. Turns out there's some like weird aphids or bugs on the wire that you have to destroy. And then it turns on, and then it's like, okay, cool, you've done the tutorial, now go explore. And so the story stuff was really light, but the exploration was pretty fun. I think we played for probably 3 to 5 hours. We did run into some hiccups, which, I mean, it's expected. This is very early. But we eventually crafted a little base with blades of grass, because you craft a hammer, you cut down the grass, and then you carry the grass blades. It's just really cute because it's in this weird perspective that I don't think we've ever seen before. At least I don't know if a game's ever done anything like this. And you carry your grass blades around, you build a little fort, and then the ants will try to get all of your shit. Those ants are
always
bastards.
They are very pesky, both in real life.
They are. I built these baskets full of all of these goodies that I had collected, because I'm like in real life, I'm a hoarder in games.
Yeah,
and I had all these little craftables. Fuck you. I did that for you. And I put them all in there, and I was all proud of my Next thing I know, there's a trail of ants going straight for it. So then we had to build a wall made out of blades of grass around our base to try to protect it. And it kind of worked, but the ants, they're persistent. Grass won't
The
do
ants
much
go marching 2 by 2. Hurrah.
Hurrah. The thing is that the map was relatively big, and because I'm so new to these survival games, I'm not sure if it's the norm to build multiple bases throughout the map. Or, I mean, I'm assuming it is. And after reading some reviews of people who had also played it, they said, yeah, you want to have multiple bases. The problem is, well, it's not really a problem. When you die, instead of losing everything, your backpack just falls where you died. And then you go back, you get your backpack, you have all your goodies in there. So it's not like you lose absolutely everything, which is really appreciated. And you can craft these little tents called lean-tos. And what you can do is set them as your spawn point. So you can have a lean-to almost anywhere you want, but you can only have one designated as your spawn point. So if you make really good progress traversing from point A to point B, and you're like, if I die, I have to go all the way back there, I don't want to do that. Just create a lean-to, make it as your spawn point, and you can also sleep in there to pass the nighttime. Because at nighttime, all the mean bugs come out. Spiders are out all hours of the day, but they specifically come out more at night, and they're mean. Fuck the spiders.
I mean, spiders are really just there to eat other bugs. And
they want to eat you.
Usually you gotta like fall on their I'm talking about real life.
Oh, well,
like
you
have to like go into the web, unless it's like a hunting spider, which I don't know how many there are in the backyard, but
there's a lot of spiders in my backyard. That's for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, the spiders are mean. I didn't get a chance to kill a spider. I did kill a lot of ants. with my spear that I crafted.
Can you go find the queen ant if you go deep enough into the ant hole?
Maybe. I didn't get to explore an anthole, unfortunately.
Oh.
But yeah, I just killed a lot of soldier ants. I killed a lot of worker ants. I killed a lot of
Those poor workers are just drones.
gnats. I killed a lot of gnats. But no, I think this game has a lot of potential. I know when it first came to Game Pass, a lot of people were talking about it and playing it and saying they had a really good time with it. And I did too. I was excited to keep playing more, but there's just not a heck of a lot you can do during this preview period. And it's fun to be running around and you come across like a juice box or a hot dog or a baseball, and just getting that perspective of like, oh yeah, that's what that would look like. It's pretty fun, and it's just really cute, and it's a feel good game, even though you can die and spiders are really scary. But you can modify the spiders if you don't like them. You can make them look like little floating balls. Well, hold on, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
A floating head. What's the name of the spider's body?
What do you
thorax?
mean?
No, it's not thorax. I don't know.
Don't know enough. Can't remember.
Anyhow, so you can make them not super intimidating.
Now I have to look it up. God damn it.
But I think there's a lot of potential with it. It was a really fun time, and usually games like this don't grab my attention, but it did, and I'm happy I played it. It was just something fun and chill to throw one back, you know?
Yeah, no,
It just says abdomen and then cephalothorax.
Okay,
Cephalothorax
abdomen.
is where like the legs and
faces?
shit are.
Or the
legs
legs?
and the head. And then the butt / back is the abdomen.
Abdomen.
At least on certain types of spiders. I mean, I feel like not all spiders are created equal.
I
but-
think this game, once it has more of the story content and once it's more objective based, I think it's when it's really going to click with me. But like I said, it's just to give you a little taste of it, and it lasts maybe 10 to 15 minutes. And then it's like, go explore, and Burgle will have little quests for you to do. Go ahead, go on with your bad self. But there's not much more you can do after that.
yeah.
Unless you want to like really just like thoroughly explore everything. And the Wikipedia page and even these other websites found things I had no idea existed. But they played for like 10 to 15 hours or something.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Cool.
It's cute. It's
Yeah,
cute.
it looks fun. I definitely want to try. I have it downloaded. I just haven't been able to jump in because, not gonna lie, spending too much time in Ghost of Tsushima trying to pet all the foxes.
There's a lot of them.
There's so freaking many things to get in that game. Anywho, I do want to kind of not spend too much time in this next game, mostly because I've only played a couple of hours of it, but it was super fun, and I'm very excited to play more. So Fall Guys, the ultimate knockout.
Oh.
You mean
From-
Game of the Year?
What was that?
I said, do you mean Game
Game
of the Year?
Oh, yes, Game of the Year. Fall Guys. Ultimate Knockout. From Mediatonic. It's just a super fun, great game that I cannot recommend more. So it's a great game to play with people. I played on stream with some people. If you guys want to check the VOD of that, you can go into a party with up to 4 people, and you essentially go head to head against 59 other players. So it's a 60-player pool, and just like the weirdest mini games I think I've ever seen, you know. And I love that they're taking kind of the formula of what like a Mario Party is and making it larger, but not quite as competitive as Battle Royale is. You know, clearly there's just a lot of these games that you can't have strats in because you're put into teams, and if your team screws up, there's nothing you can really do about it. But it's such a really fun game. It's free right now on PlayStation Plus, and it's $19.99 on Steam. So a very affordable game to just jump right into. And I'm very bummed that they did suffer from review bombing on launch day, because they were, like any multiplayer game, had server issues, but they course corrected pretty quickly, and it seems like they've recovered. And I was just very disappointed that some people were being dicks about it. Just don't be a dick. Life lesson.
A lot of dicks on the internet.
Yeah, it's true. But apparently there's over 1 million players now. It looks like a number of people is 1.5 million players so far, which is kind of wild.
That's a lot.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's according. Sorry, go ahead.
I saw they were tweeting with Witcher, Cyberpunk, and even Walmart is like, yo, how do we work together? Their social person's killing it.
Yes, whoever's on
Killing
their
it.
social media team. And I love that the CD Projekt Red social team was like, okay, we will work
see
with
you.
you if you get 1 retweet, just 1. You can't get more. And then, of course, you know, like, they got more than 1 retweet. And they're like, listen, like, the legal team here said 1 retweet, and you fucked it up. And it's been really funny watching them go back and forth trying to get characters, because the whole thing is that you can customize your little fall guy, and they're these like little blobs. They look like walking like pills with like arms and legs. They're kind of like wobbly, and they've got
like
these little
minions.
beady
No,
eyes.
minions, yes.
Kind of like minions, but without like the big eye in the
Yeah.
middle. But yeah, that
Yeah.
same pill like shape. Or you can change the colors and the patterns, and they have all these weird little costumes that you can earn and buy as DLC, and you can earn in game for getting crowns and wins and stuff. And it's just a really fun time. Just having a great time with it.
It looks
I'm
fun.
glad. It
Yeah.
does
Oh,
look
yeah,
like
Chuck
I
E.
want to play with
Cheese.
you this weekend because
Yes.
I haven't played yet.
Yes, let's play.
Chuck E. Cheese was all over that too.
Oh yeah, we raided Chuck E. Cheese today.
Not in real life.
No, just on
No.
stream.
On the-
After
on the
Brittany and I
Twitch
did the
machine.
State of Play watch along, one John T. Drake in the chat was like, "Go raid the cheese, raiding the cheese. Let's raid the cheese." And I was like, "Okay." I mean, who doesn't want to raid the cheese? Sounds great. Let's go. So we raided Chuck E. Cheese's channel, and the people in the chat were blown away. They were like, "Oh my gosh, we're getting raided! What's happening?"
Chuck E. Cheese.
And people were like, "Where's the Chuck E. Cheese version of this?"
And it was
Ball
it was just
pits.
funny because somebody was playing on Chuck E. Cheese's channel, but like they didn't have a mic on. They were just had the game audio going.
Yeah.
So
Dude,
it
what
was
if they had
interesting.
the mouse playing?
I mean, I would love
He
that.
wouldn't talk, right? Or wait, does Chuck E. Cheese have a voice now?
No, like most
I-
mascots, Chuck E. Cheese doesn't talk. Pretty sure
thought
Chuck
he
E.
Mickey
Cheese.
talked.
Mouse talks.
Wait, Chuck E. Cheese? Let me look this up.
I'm pretty
He did
sure.
not use. Oh wait, no, he did on the shows because they would have those weird animatronic stage shows. There was definitely he would definitely talk then.
Oh boy.
Huh.
Oh man.
No, I don't know if I want to watch. I really
Hold
don't even
on,
think
there's
I
a
would
whole
watch.
video about Chuck E. Cheese's voice history. I stand corrected, everybody.
Yeah.
Lord.
The history of Chuck E. Cheese's voice is a video you can watch on YouTube, and I'm not gonna play it here because
No.
we're definitely gonna get a content
How long is
ID.
that? How long is the video though?
That video is 1 minute and 17
Oh,
seconds.
okay, very short. I was hoping it'd be like an expose, like a 30-minute episode.
Hour-long special at Chuck E. Cheese.
The
Ooh.
deep history of Chuck E. Cheese's voice
It's YouTube.
actors.
There's weirder shit there.
I mean, that's
True.
not incorrect. But yeah, that's all really I have to say about it now. I mean, there's a bunch of different types of games to play. It's super fun. It's best experienced firsthand. Right now, it's currently announced for PlayStation 4 and Steam. There are no plans as of right now for that game to come to Xbox and Switch, but I have to imagine that once it gets critical mass, much like Rocket League started on PlayStation Plus and Steam, that Fall Guys will eventually come to Xbox and Nintendo at some point because the game is it's great.
It looks
Everyone
really
should
cute.
play. It was fun, and it's free if you have PlayStation Plus. So there you go.
Winner,
There
chicken
you
dinner.
go.
Yeah. All right, Brittany. Final thoughts on your last game of the show.
Oh, Paper Mario, the Origami King. So, TLDR, Mario and Luigi arrive in a town, and everyone's been turned to origami by King Ollie, that asshole. So I started playing this game because I haven't played a Paper Mario game in a really long time, and the last time I think I played was Color Splash last year, or a couple years ago. It was the color one. I don't remember. That was the last one I played, and it was like, okay, and I didn't finish it. But I always think about Nintendo 64, Paper Mario, Super Mario RPG. I love me a Mario RPG. So this is like my first jump into it in a long time. And this game is hilarious. It's charming. It's cute. I was laughing out loud so many times. I love the humor in these games. But I, unfortunately, when it came to the combat, it just kind of ruins it for me. I don't know, you ladies have seen the combat. We've talked about it on the show, right? So you have like this wheel, and you have to line up the enemies in certain patterns because Mario has a hammer and he has boots. And if you align the enemies in a line, you can use your boots and you can take them all in one fell swoop. If you have the hammer, you have to line them up in 2x2, and then you can whack them. So you have
Like
a few
whack-a-mole.
moves. Whack-a-mole, exactly. You have a few moves at the beginning of every battle to twist the wheel as you need to line them up. So you can twist it around in a clockwise or counterclockwise order, or you can arrange the enemies, like, I don't know how to describe this, across the way. So if you want to line them up, you can like go left to right.
Horizontally.
Yeah, thank you. Horizontally, you can kind of. It can be any which way. Anywho, there's a few different ways you can line them up. And you do that, and you have a few moves to do it. If you don't do it, the battles kind of drag on because now they're not lined up in a nice, efficient, quick manner for you to kill them. And you don't get experience points after fighting anymore. I don't know how long this has been a thing in the Paper Mario games, but you don't get experience points. Instead, you get coins, which you can use to buy gear that will break. It's not like your forever gear.
No, nobody likes breakable gear. It sucks. Stop doing it.
Yeah. Stop it.
Yeah, stop it. So I got maybe like 5 hours in
That's
at
why I
this
stopped
point
playing Zelda.
before I stopped. And I don't know if that changes in the future, but I tweeted about this because I was like, dang, like I like everything else about it. But, you know, in any RPG, combat's kind of important. You can't avoid it. And I just didn't like the mechanic of having a puzzle before you actually get into the combat. And I didn't like the fact that I don't get rewarded with experience points and that kind of that grind that I kind of love in these kind of games.
Yeah, you want to fill that meter up.
Yeah, there is a way where you can get the coins and pay toads to do the lining up for you, but it still doesn't take away the fact that I don't get the XP. So
It doesn't
I
feel
stopped
satisfying to you.
it doesn't feel satisfying. Other than that, though, like I love so much about it, but I just didn't. I was trying to avoid all the combat, and
So really, you
it's that
just
way.
want like a story time version of this game. Where
Yeah,
you
if
run
could
through
take
without
out-
the combat.
Exactly. No, honestly, it's funny you say that because more people have said that. There have actually been articles written about that where it's like, take away the combat, please, like, or just make it optional, and you got a winner.
Hey,
But
I
I
mean,
know some
they
people
may
love it, but-
eventually, right? The Final Fantasies have come back. It might take 10 years, but like, the Final Fantasies have come along and been like, you know what? You want to skip combat? We got you. Hit fast forward. There you go.
Please, I would be all over this game in a heartbeat. But other than that, that's the only thing about it. But unfortunately for me, it was enough to make me not want to play anymore. Also, sorry, I should have said at the beginning, Nintendo provided me with a code. Disclaimer, don't sue me.
Disclaimer.
Yeah.
Disclaimer, don't sue
Oh,
me.
disclaimer. I
So-
thought you said Steimer. I was like, what?
Disclaimer, don't sue me. Yeah.
I might.
But it has that charm and whatnot, but it's just the combat didn't do it, so I'm done. I moved on to Fairy Tale. Talk about that next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happens.
Lengthy and very in-depth conversation. It was a good one.
It
You know,
was.
we talked about making the show shorter, and we are going to tighten it up, but there was just so much to talk about this week. We hope you guys enjoyed it. And we hope you enjoy your weekend and that you're going to join me on Sunday for my birthday stream.
Birthday girl.
It's going to be fun. I'm going to get like something sparkly to eat. I'm going to try to use this glitter I bought in a different way.
Ah, yes.
Because the Jell-O like sort of worked out, but I feel like
It's a
there's
little
more experiments to
lackluster.
be had.
Yeah.
And I have a new What's Good Wine video in the works. So keep an eye out for that, everybody. At What's Good Wine on Instagram. Love you. Okay, bye, everybody.